Chapter 13. 1 week later. Natalie. Lexi. So I went past the house and the renovations look like they're almost done. And there's a big billboard announcing a grand opening. It's right off the highway. Premium real estate. How many blowjobs did it cost you? Asking for a friend. Natalie. Good morning, Lexi. Smile emoji. Ooh, a smiley face. Someone's happy. Someone is. Spare me the revolting details of your sordid relationship. You just asked me about blowjobs. I was trying to make polite conversation. With blowjobs? Well, I thought it might be too much to bring up a rusty trombone before breakfast. I'm not even going to ask. How's the business? I'm not saying it's bad, but I am saying, if you know of someone that would like yoga lessons, I have a pretty open schedule. Maybe you should try being a little more friendly. I'm pretty sure you've scared away most of the locals. You flatterer. For real, though, I do have a potential client/investor coming over later today to get a tour of the studio. Yay! So catch me up. How are things with Clay? Dreamy. Smiley emoji. Is it possible to have a perfect week? I feel like I've had one. Ew, gross. So many emotions. I can't help it. We're disgustingly sappy together. So, what did you do during this sappy week? Well, we've been staying in the hotel. One day we did some touristy stuff downtown, and we did some shopping, and just regular dating stuff. It's been nice. Have you seen any ghosts? No. You should tell him you want to ghost hunt. Except I don't. I'd rather go to dinner and a movie with him. You're such a pleb. I'm surprised you're not with him right now. Or are you? No, he's got a day full of meetings today. Some of them are PBO and some are IC. PBO? IC? PBO equals Price Brothers Oil, board meetings. IC equals Intelligent Camo, the startup he's trying to get going. He wants it to be affordable for military types and hunters. He's got a whole plan mapped out. It's really interesting. Yawn. Okay, I know I'm gushing. Has he apologized for abandoning you those 3 days? I told you yesterday. He apologized already. Yes, but I think he should apologize daily. Grovel daily, even. This might be why I'm single, though. Speaking of, any word from Knox? Who? Knox? One of Clay's brothers? You two seemed like you hit it off last week at the tubing party. Oh, guess not. He not your type? You could say that. What is your type? Bironically ironic? Ironically Byronic? I wish you'd be serious for once. Never. Well, I wish you'd hit it off with Knox. It'd be fun to double date or something. Clay and I had dinner with Ivy and Boone the other night. I really like them both. Ivy's so sweet. She wants Clay to look for a house, and she wants my input on it. And Boone's really nice, too. Very protective of his wife. Did you not meet Boone before, back when you and Clay were dating? No, he was working at the rig with his dad at that point. So tell me more about the house shopping. Ooh, wait. Tell them Clay wants to live in a yurt. A what? A yurt. Google it. I'll wait. I don't think. I'm getting another text from my dad's nurse. TTYL. Later. Alice. Ms. Weston, I wanted to let you know that your father's had several very lucid days in a row, and he's been asking about you. It seems he misses you quite a bit. Do you think you will have time to stop by and visit him in the next few days? I know Mr. Price is keeping you busy, but I assured your father I would ask. Natalie. Mr. Price will be out of town tomorrow. I'll come by for lunch. Should I call right now and talk to Dad? He says it's not necessary. He's about to lie down for a nap. He says he's looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm feeling a little out of sorts as the sedan pulls into the new parking lot at the Chap Weston Museum. In a way, I don't want to come back. That's terrible to think, but I can't help it. I've been so happy with Clay this last week, I don't want it to end. I don't want anything to interfere with my bubble of contentment. I realize as the car pulls in that while I've been going about the day-to-day of life, I haven't exactly been happy here with Dad. And then I feel guilty for thinking such things. It's been less than 2 weeks since Clay came back into my life. Surely it'll take longer for us to fall back in love again, won't it? Except I'm pretty sure I'm already there all over again. Maybe I never stopped. Of course, I'm not going to tell Clay that. He'll think I'm crazy. I'm going to sit on it for a while longer, until I'm absolutely sure about how I feel, and that he feels the same way, too. I just don't know how my dad is going to fit into this picture. Right now, everything works out, of course, but I can't expect Clay to continue to shuck out money for 3 nurses permanently, nor can I expect my dad to be happy if I'm gone with Clay almost all of the time. We're in a weird holding pattern, all 3 of us. I'm terrified that the future's going to change things. Focus on the present, I remind myself. Enjoy what you have now. Don't worry about what tomorrow's going to bring. So I close my eyes and think about Clay, holding my phone tight in my hands. He's out visiting one of the potential dig sites with his brothers. It seems Boone is a dowser, whatever that is, and so they like to go in person for a lot of the site visits. Clay wanted me to go with him because he won't be getting home until late, and he didn't want to abandon me. I declined, even though I secretly wanted to go with him. Dad's asking for me, and I feel obligated to go and spend time with him. And here I am. I open my eyes again and gaze out at the newly renovated parking lot. I have to admit that I didn't realize how shabby the house and grounds were until now. The parking lot I knew was lumpy and bumpy and full of potholes, and now it's smooth pavement with neatly delineated parking spaces for customers. The hedges surrounding the parking lot have been neatly trimmed, and the garden area near the fountain has been given a facelift. Instead of a few scraggly cactuses and native Texas plants, there's blooming flowers, a pergola, and riots of color from brand-new bushes. The lawns are trimmed and greener than I've ever seen them, and there's even a gardener planting more flowers along the walkway to the inside of the museum. The driver parks the car and comes around to my side, opening the door. "I'll wait out here for you, Miss Weston. Take as much time as you need." I nod. "Thank you." I slide my phone into my pocket and gaze at the house, my stomach in knots. There's a few workers scattered outside the house, 2 of them on ladders and replacing a window on the 2nd floor. There's a new sign for the museum with a charming logo and a picture of my dad back in his younger, more famous days. Even though I approved all of the changes, I'm still surprised to see the new opening for the gift shop, along with the fresh paint and the brand-new roof. Everything looks brand new. Amazing what can be done in just 2 short weeks. It's almost like I'm not needed here. Wishful thinking, I'm sure. I open the front door and things look less finished inside. The museum pieces are all covered with dust cloths, stacked along the walls, and the carpets have been pulled up. Men are working feverishly, and surprisingly quietly, on the flooring. There's very little hammering, and everyone talks in hushed voices. I'm sure it's all for my father's sake, and I wonder if he appreciates the lengths the contractors are going to in order to accommodate him. Probably not. My dad rarely thinks of anyone but himself. I squelched the selfish thought. Mr. Slocum waves at me as I make my way further inside, but I point at the stairs. I'm just visiting my father, I assure him. Carry on. I hurry up. Even the stairs don't creak anymore, and turn down the hall toward my father's room. Before I get there, I can hear music from Little Tiki Princess playing in the background. I knock on the door, biting my lip. I wonder what dad I'm going to get today. The one that doesn't know where he is? The one that's living in the past? Or the one that's coherent and has all his thoughts? Who is it? My dad's voice sounds strong, with just a hint of wobble due to age. It's me, Natalie. Come in. I open the door, a beaming smile on my face. Hi, Dad. The look I get in return is less than enthusiastic. So you finally remembered that I exist, eh? Seems like the dad I'm going to get today is dramatic, but coherent. All right, then. I shut the door behind me, keeping the smile pinned on my face. Of course I remembered you. I ignore my dad's grouchiness and sit down in the empty chair across from his bed. He's sitting up, and I'm happy to see his sheets look fresh and crisp. The curtains have been drawn back on the big bay windows in his room, letting in the sunlight, and across from his bed on the wall, Little Tiki Princess plays on the big screen TV. That's not surprising, given that my dad loves to watch himself in his old movies. I do like how tidy his shelves are, and how everything's been kept neat. It seems as if his nurses have been tidying his things, which is good. Dad gets in moods where he pulls everything out, looking for one particular item, and makes a huge mess. He's like a little kid in that you have to watch him constantly. It's been a busy week and I haven't been able to steal away much, I tell him as I reach over and hit pause on the remote. I told you about my new job, didn't I? It's the one that lets me afford to get you all these great nurses. You told me about the new job, but I don't see why it's necessary, he tells me petulantly. He plucks at the sheets tucked at his waist. I'd much rather you be downstairs so I can call for you at any time. You should quit this job. It's not necessary. Of course it's necessary, I tell him, clasping my hands in my lap and sitting with my back upright, just like he always chided me to do when I was younger. No, it's not. We're fine on money. We're not fine on money. There isn't any money. That's the problem, Dad. Nonsense. He waves a long-fingered hand. Who told you we were broke? The accountant? It's his job to be cheap. He'll always tell you there's none left, and then he always magically finds more. No, I say firmly. I've gone down this path with him before. You always magically found more because you'd open up a credit card or write a check that the accountants didn't know about. There's no money left, Dad. You're wrong. And if we're so broke, why did you hire all these men to come and fix up the place? I hear them hammering all day long. My lies are starting to catch up to me. Well, they're not lies exactly. They're more like glaring omissions of truth. I told you that we got an investor in the museum. He wants the place looking good for the grand reopening. Don't you remember? Dad frowns and then gives a slow shake of his head. I guess I don't. My memory isn't what it used to be. That small, sad statement makes me want to cry. It's all right. I reach out and take his hand in mine, clasping it warmly. Tell me about your nurses. How do you like them? You look good. They must be taking good care of you. If you mean, do they bother me every minute of the day? The answer is yes. He gives me a look I've come to associate with Chap Weston, the actor, and not Chap Weston, my dad. But they're all very pretty, and they love my stories. I hope you're not harassing the nurses, Dad. I just like looking. I can look, can't I? I smile. You can. But the nurses aren't the same as having you here. He squeezes my hand and gives me a sad look. It's not the same as having my daughter around. You should tell your boss that you need time to be with your father. It's just a temporary job, I tell him, my heart squeezing painfully. It might be temporary, but that doesn't mean I want it to be. Yes, but I'm old, Natalie. Who knows how much longer I'm going to be around? Shouldn't we be spending that time together, instead of you just casting me off to some nurses? And there's the guilt trip, combined with the sad gaze he's sending in my direction. It works. I feel so guilty. I should be spending more time with him, and he is right. He won't be around forever. But spending time with Clay is so nice, and it makes me feel so free and happy. I bite back my sigh. I'll see what I can do. My mood's ruined by the time I leave. Even though my dad's in a chatty mood and he stays in the present the entire time, he likes to lay the guilt on thick, over and over again, until I'm about ready to scream in frustration. It doesn't help that I already feel guilty, too. He's not subtle. He doesn't have to be. Everything he says is the truth and confirms my own guilty thoughts. Should I be away so much and entrusting strangers, albeit well-trained, competent strangers, to take care of my dad? They don't know him like I do. They'll never care for him as much as a daughter would. And to make matters worse, he thinks I'm away because I'm being someone's assistant. I didn't have the heart to tell him that there's not much assisting going on, that it's all a ruse so Clay could get my attention. I also haven't told Dad that my new boss is Clay Price. He'd really lose it at that point. The weight of all the secrets and my guilt weighs heavy on me during the car ride back to the hotel. I need a sign from the universe, something that will tell me that I'm on the right path and that I'm doing the right thing by being with Clay. Unfortunately, the universe doesn't give me any signs. What it does give me are 2 car wrecks that I pass by on the interstate. I hope those aren't my sign. I pretend they're not. When I get back to the room, Clay's still not back yet. He won't be for a few more hours. But while he's been gone, he had the hotel staff deliver a dozen roses and put a box of chocolates on the end of the bed, along with a little note for me. Nat, miss you already. Home soon. CP. Of course, that just makes me feel worse. He's so thoughtful, and it's only a day trip. To think that he did all this just so I'd feel special when he's gone for a few hours. I sniffle as I pick up the box of chocolates and then crawl into bed, feeling like the worst daughter and worst assistant ever. Eating the whole box of them doesn't help either. It just makes me feel worse, because now I'm sick to my stomach as well as feeling guilty. I change into my pajamas and lie in bed, moping and worrying over what to do. Clay gets home a short time later, and I click off the reality TV show I'm watching as the door opens. He bounds into the room, as if he can't stand being without me for another moment, eyes gleaming. He doesn't pause at the edge of the bed, but just flings himself into it next to me, fully dressed, work boots and all. I give a little squeal as a cloud of dust comes up from his clothes. Clay, you're filthy. Yes I am. He pulls me down under him and begins to nibble on my neck. I thought so many filthy things about you today. I'm surprised your ears weren't burning, babe. I sputter at the amount of loose dirt that comes off his clothing. Did you get caught in a sandstorm? Nah, it's just windy and flat out there. Visited the new rig site, and then went and said hello to Seth. He wasn't none too pleased about being back on the job, but Boone and Gage were giving him hell about skipping out on work, so he went back out. Knox and I showed up to jaw with him a little. He nips at my neck. You don't like a big, smelly redneck as your man, baby? I do, actually. The problem is that I like it far too much. I want to make a sassy retort, but I think of my father's disapproving face, and tears come to my eyes. Nat? Clay lifts his head and looks at me, worried. What's wrong? I sniff and try to fight back tears, because I don't want to tell him. Nothing. His eyes darken. What did your father say to you? Am I that obvious? He sits up, shaking his head. As he does, he grabs the front of my pajama top and begins to slowly unbutton it. I just think that all week, every time we've been apart, you smiled when you saw me. Now today, you visit your dad, and when I see you, you're about ready to cry. So it don't take a genius to figure out that he's the cause. What are you doing? I ask as he continues to unbutton my clothes. Getting you undressed for our shower. Don't change the subject. What'd he say to you? He's too good at interpreting me. I bite back my sigh and let him continue unbuttoning my shirt. He doesn't like the nurses being there as much as he likes his daughter waiting on him. Clay snorts. He finishes unbuttoning my top and pushes it to the sides, exposing my breasts and stomach. He gazes down at them with pure pleasure on his face, then glances back up at me. Continue. He says that since I'm his daughter and he doesn't have much time left in this world, I should be spending my time with him. I make a little squeal of protest as Clay buries his face between my breasts. He's growing his beard out again, at my suggestion, and right now the stubble is raspy and hard. I thought we were going to shower. We are, eventually. He kisses the tip of one breast. But I plan on fucking you in the shower, and I don't want to be talking about your dad at that point. One hand cups my breast, and he rubs his thumb over the tip. Sides, these distract me. I shift under his touch, thrusting my breast into his hand. Then we don't talk about my dad anymore. It's just a guilt trip. I just hate that it works so well. He's right, you know? What, that he's old? Well, yeah, but that don't mean you gotta give your life up for him. The only reason he's bringing this shit up is because he's just trying whatever it'll take to bring you back to his side and make you take up nursing him again. Am I wrong? I think for a moment, and then shake my head. I know he's not. In my heart, I know he's right. I get reports from the nurses too, you know. He lazily licks a trail between my breasts. You do? I'm so surprised I sit up on my elbows and nearly knock him backward. I do, he says, putting a finger on my shoulder and lowering me back to the bed. You want to know what they tell me? At my nod, he continues. He's manipulative. He's good-natured and sweet if it gets him what he wants. If it doesn't, he pitches a fit. He uses guilt, and he's a great actor. All of this sounds terribly unflattering and almost mean. He's old, and he's sick. He is. Don't mean he's not a bastard. The girls like him well enough, but they also deal with enough patients just like him to see through the bullshit. Your dad's healthier than he lets on. He just likes you taking care of him. But I ain't making light of the fact that he's got dementia, but he's got more good days than bad. Alice says it's good that he's around different people, stimulates the mind. He just prefers a situation and people he can control. That's why he wants you back. I'm a little hurt by Clay's statement. I'm also his daughter, and he loves me. He does, I'm sure. Clay cups my other breast and lowers his mouth to it. But I'm also sure he's using you, and now that you've got a bit of freedom, he's pouting. He gives it a distracting lick. He's just trying to pull us apart again. I don't know if that's true, because he doesn't know Clay's involved, But I do think he's right about a lot of it. My dad can be a user, and he can turn on the acting charm to get what he wants. It shouldn't surprise me that he can just as easily turn on the guilt trip. All right, no more about my father. Amen. He nips at my nipple, sending a shiver through my body. Now to get you naked and in the shower. I lift my hips and shimmy out of my pajama bottoms. You have a one-track mind. When it comes to you, very much so. He watches me undress with hungry eyes, his grin growing wider. Can't wait to get my mouth on that sweet pussy again. His words make me blush. Well, maybe I want to get my mouth on you. Gonna be hard to do if I'm fully dressed, he teases. Ooh, a challenge. I grab at the front of his shirt and tug. It's like a dare. For the next few moments, both of us rip at his clothing, determined to get him naked as quickly as possible. His jeans pull at his legs, and then he nearly rolls off the bed trying to wrestle his boots off. My giggles only make him move faster, and then it seems he's about to fling himself over the side when suddenly one boot goes flying free, then the other. He grins at me, fully naked, and smacks my rump with the flat of his hand. Why are you not in the shower already? I was waiting for a slowpoke, I tell him, climbing off the oversized hotel bed. I'll give you a slow poke, he mock growls. Ooh, a threat, I say in my sassiest voice, and swing my hips with a little extra oomph as I head toward the lush bathroom. The shower's like something out of a dream, with multiple heads and the prettiest tile I've ever seen caged in by glass. I love using it because it makes me feel like a princess. Tonight, though, I want to wash my man. I turn on the water, running a hand under the spray until the temperature is just right. Then, instead of stepping in, I gesture that Clay should go first. I'm going to rub that dirt off of you. I like the sound of this. He steps in, and I can't help but pause to admire the gorgeousness of his form as he lifts his hands and drags his fingers through his short hair. I love how big his shoulders are, how broad and tanned by the sun. But funnily enough, I think I love his white butt even more. Even though there's a crazy tan line, his ass is tight and firm and high, and it just makes me want to bite it so badly every time I see it. Never thought I'd be the type to daydream about getting my teeth on a man's buns, but I guess I am. I grab a bottle of the travel-sized shower gel and squirt a palmful on my hand. I'm sure it'll be more effective if I use a washcloth, but what's the fun in that? No fun at all, he says, and his voice has dropped to a lower, huskier note that makes me shiver all over. I press my soapy hand to his chest, and then begin to slowly rub as he stands in the shower spray, blocking it from hitting me. There's a ton of soap in one spot, so I use both hands in small circles to spread the wealth. Plus, it gives me a chance to touch him. I glide my fingers over his pectorals, making sudsy whorls in his chest hair and dragging deliberately over his nipples. I go further down, soaping up his abdomen, and I love how rock-hard the muscles are here and how defined his obliques are. You have the most incredible body, I tell him softly. Every time I see it, I just want to touch you. Funny, I feel that way about you, he tells me, sliding a wet hand up and down my arm and then cupping one of my breasts. Love how pretty and sexy you are, Nat. You're so perfect, so soft. I want to push you down on the floor here and get my mouth on your pussy. Not yet, I tell him, gasping at his intense words. I get to wash you first, remember? He makes an impatient sound in his throat. Then hurry so I can touch you. Hurry? That just makes me want to take even more time. I deliberately go slower, tracing over every muscle and outlining it before moving on. I get to his tan line. Lower would mean I get to touch his straining cock, and then I'm pretty sure things would escalate pretty fast from there. I change routes instead, moving to his arms and soaping them up. Clay groans. Tease. He's right. I love teasing him. I love being playful with him. I feel like I've had to be so serious, so focused for so long, that there's been no time for play. With him, I can be as silly and light and carefree as I want to be. And I'm definitely feeling frisky at the moment. I lightly drag my nails down his arm, then slide down to my knees and begin to soap up one big thigh. He makes a sound in his throat that sounds pained, and his hand goes to my hair, knotting his fingers in it as if he wants to hold me in place. Oh yes, I might be a tease, but he enjoys it just as much as I do. I'm getting wet with my own excitement at touching him. I can feel the slick heat between my legs growing, and I shift back and forth, squirming in place as I run my hands up and down his strong thigh. Think you're clean yet? I can think of one spot you haven't hit yet. His hand tightens in my hair, and I get even wetter. But I want more than that. Show me, I tell him, breathless. I know exactly what he's referring to, but I want him to drag me there, just because the mental image of him doing that makes me crazy with need. So he does. He uses the hand buried in my hair to steer me even closer to his cock, until my mouth's practically brushing against the head of it. It's flushed with the blood racing through his arousal, and the head is tipped with several droplets of pre-cum. I stick my tongue out and catch the first drop on the tip of it. The breath hisses from his lungs. Take me in your mouth, baby. Oh, I planned on it. I continue to just use the tip of my tongue, though, dragging it over the head of his cock in tiny little circles. Fuck, I love your mouth, he tells me between panting breaths. Only thing I love more than your tongue are your lips. I swallow back my giggle. Is that a hint? You can do what you like with me, and you know that, Clay murmurs. I'm at your mercy. The thought gives me a giddy rush of power. Here on my knees, I'm the one in charge of this man and his pleasure. I can do what I want with him. Lucky for him, I want to drive him crazy with lust. But first, I want to play a bit more. I lean in and give the head of his cock a smacking, puckered, girlish kiss. There, all done. His groan of frustration is like sweet music, and I can't help the laughter that erupts from me. You're the cruelest woman to ever touch me. I'm the only woman to ever touch you. That too. Still the cruelest. But I feel a fierce sense of possessive pleasure in the realization that he's all mine. No matter what happened between us in the past, he didn't move on. He waited for me. Maybe we were meant to be together after all, and this won't be just a quick thing between us. We have a history, him and I. I slide a hand underneath his cock and cup his sack. I haven't had much of an opportunity to play with this part of him, and I have to admit, it's pretty foreign to me. I'm not exactly sure how to work it, so I decide to go the safe route and caress it while I work his cock with my mouth. Look at you, he grits out, as if it's difficult to speak. So pretty with my cock in your mouth. Love seeing that. A low groan escapes him. God, you're good at this. A fucking natural. Excited by how turned on he is, I work even harder, rubbing and caressing his sack as I suck on his cock. I take him as far into my mouth as I can, using my other hand to guide him as I drag his length back and forth over my tongue. He shifts his weight forward, almost thrusting into my mouth, and his hand grows tight on my hair once more. "No," he murmurs after a moment. "I want to be inside you when I come. Stand up, baby." I release him with one last sad lick, then get to my feet. He cups my face and pulls me close in a fierce kiss, then cups my ass with his hands, squeezing tight. "Wait here. I'll get the condom." Should I think about getting on the pill? "Nah," he says. "Won't do any good. Wait here." Weirdly enough, my feelings are hurt. The pill won't do any good? Is that because it takes a month to kick in? And we'll be done by then? Pain stabs through me at the thought. I don't want to be done. I don't ever want Clay to leave me again. I don't know how I'm going to cope. "Stop it," I tell myself, closing my eyes and leaning into the shower spray. "You promised yourself you'd live in the moment, remember? You weren't going to worry about tomorrow." Easier said than done, of course. But then Clay returns, condom on, and gives me another fierce kiss, and I'm swept up in the passion of the moment. He wants me. I can feel the hard length of him pushing against my stomach as we kiss. There's no question he wants me. Maybe the attraction can grow into something deeper again. If not, then I'll deal with that when the day gets here. Until then, I know what I've bought into. It's a contract, nothing more, and I can enjoy it just as much as him. I wrap my arms around his neck and return his kiss with a fierce intensity of my own. He grips my hips, holding me tight against him. "Turn around," he whispers after a moment. "Put your hand on the wall and present that pretty ass to me." I shiver at his delicious words and do just as he says. A moment later, his hands go on my hips and he thrusts into me, hard and sharp. I suck in a breath, shocked at how good it feels, how full. I'm always amazed by that first push into me, no matter how many times we have sex. It's like my body forgets just how incredible it is to be filled by him. His hands go tight on my hips, and I know this isn't going to be a lengthy session of love-making. We're both too keyed up for that. I brace my hands as he thrusts into me again, as hard as the first time. Then again. Over and over he rocks into me with possessive determination, until my fingers are curling against the tiles and I'm crying out his name. The slow, elusive orgasm I've come to think of as the belly orgasm begins to build, and I whimper, "I'm close," to let Clay know that he needs to keep moving just like that. But he doesn't. He pushes into me deep, and his other hand goes to my pussy. His fingers spread my folds, and in the next moment, he's rubbing against my clit and thrusts into me once more. I shatter. He doesn't stop, and it feels as if my climax builds on another. With every circling touch of his fingers around my clit, every thrust, it feels like I'm coming anew, and I sob as the orgasms fly into one another. Clay comes a moment later, his hand finally moving away from my clit, and he tangles his fingers in the curls covering my mound, as if claiming it for himself, and buries his face against my neck. "Nat," he breathes, and I wait for words of love. I wait for him to tell me that he loves me, so I can tell him how I feel. But he just presses a kiss to my shoulder, and I realize I'm going to have to keep waiting.
Chapter 14. 1 week later. Clay. "Quit squirming," I tell Nat as she shifts on the seat next to me. I put my hand on her thigh, letting my fingers graze close to her pussy, because that usually distracts her. Today, not so much. She just squirms even more, craning her head to look out of the window of the sedan as we drive down the highway.
I'm just nervous.
What about?
Everything,
Nat tells me breathlessly.
You've poured so much money into this, and I just want it to look right. I want everything to look good. I want you to get your dollar's worth out of it. I want to feel like... Oh, look! There's the billboard.
She presses her fingers to her mouth and practically glues her forehead to the window as we pass by a large advertisement on the side of the interstate. It's a black and white picture of her father in a sailor hat from one of his movies, and the new logo. The sign reads, Chap Weston Hollywood Museum and Memorabilia. Next exit. Doesn't look like anything I'd ever be into, but Nat's eyes gleam with happy tears, and it makes me feel good. Also makes my dick hard, but I don't say anything about that. Ain't the time. My sweet Nat worries about everything, and I want her to enjoy herself today. It's been real apparent to me that my Nat has been stressed. She worries about her father, who's been increasingly demanding in his requests that she spend her time with him instead of passing him off to nurses. She worries I've thrown too much money away on this silly contract of ours. She worries my family is going to think she's using me for my money. She worries I'm not getting enough out of this to make me happy. Nat's always been a sweetheart who thinks of others before herself, but this constant state of agitation is worrying to me. She ain't gonna make everyone happy, so I'm not sure why she even wants to try. I'm happy. She's happy. That's all that matters to me. I let my hand play on her thigh, rubbing my thumb back and forth over the soft floral material of her skirt. She's wearing one of those typically Natalie light-colored sweaters over a light floral dress that falls to her knees, and it makes me want to flip the skirt up and expose her pretty ass. Maybe I'll distract her and joke that we haven't explored anal yet, and it's in the contract. Lord knows my poor baby needs distracting. Suppose I could always have the driver find the nearest hotel and distract her for a few hours in my favorite kind of way. I like that thought. So does my dick. I'm pretty sure Nat would like it too. One of the things that's so amazing about her is that she's just as excited for me to touch her as I am. Every damn time. I thought maybe once we got the initial torrid bouts of fucking out of our systems, things would slow down. Not so much, though. If anything, it's been getting worse. Now all it takes to get me hard is a whiff of her perfume, or a hint of her smile. Nat laughing, dick hard. Nat sighing, dick hard. Nat glancing over at me in the car like she just did, dick instantly hard. Doesn't take much. I'm crazier about the girl than I ever was, and I thought I was insanely in love 7 years ago. Doesn't hold a candle to how I feel about her now. All of this has just kind of reinforced that she's meant to be mine, that we're meant to be together forever. I slide my hand a little higher up her skirt, my pinky finger awful close to the promised land. Nat only sighs and shifts her weight in her seat, as if she wants my hand there too. And I'd think a bit harder about getting that hotel room, though I guess it ain't a good idea. I don't have condoms on me. I think back to her mention of the pill from the other day. Didn't really think about it too much, because every time it comes up, I'm wanting to be deep inside her. But the truth of the matter is, I don't want her on birth control. I want to be deep inside her, filling her up with my seed. I want her belly to be rounded with my baby, like Ivy's is with Boone's. I want us to be a family. I want her to make her mine permanently. Birth control just seems like that'd delay things. So I shoot it down every time she suggests it. When she's ready, we'll discard the condoms and I'll slide into her, as bare as anything, and fuck her the way she should be fucked. Damn it, I'm getting uncontrollably hard just thinking about that. Wish she'd let her hand wander over to my cock the way mine's wandering toward her tasty little cunt. Maybe she'd let me fling that skirt over my head and I could lick her for a while here in the back seat.
Oh,
Nat says, distracting me from my filthy train of thoughts.
it looks so good. Look, Clay.
She reaches out and takes my hand in hers, squeezing my fingers. As we pull up to the front of the museum, I have to admit, it does look a hell of a lot better. The house itself has been given a fresh makeover, looking clean and new. The grounds have been landscaped into a pretty impressive set of gardens. One section is covered in flowers and has a sign stating that it's straight out of a scene from Little Tiki Princess. There's one long row of hedges that's been shaped into a submarine from another Chap Western movie. There's even a bunch of sculpted bushes set up to look like the Hollywood Hills with a smaller-scaled Hollywood sign nestled in them. Nearby, there's a bunch of cutouts of scenes from Chap Western movies that people can put their faces in and have photos taken of themselves. It's touristy crap, but Nat looks so pleased. She keeps making these happy little gasps every time she sees things. Even the parking lot gets a happy exclamation.
Look at how many spaces there are. Oh, my goodness. If we had this many people show up, Dad wouldn't be in debt anymore.
When the car stops, she takes my hand in hers and gives me an eager smile.
Come on, Clay. Let's go see what else they've done.
How can I refuse? I can deny this gorgeous woman nothing. Even today, I'm supposed to be meeting with my brothers to go over plans for the purchase of new land that has the potential for oil. And I've still got to catch up with Fred about the intelligent camo production. Doesn't seem as important as making Natalie smile, though. Everything pales next to that. I adjust my too-hard cock as we get out of the car and head up the walkway to the new front of the museum. I have to admit it looks vastly different than it did before. The signs are bright and new. The roof and paint have transformed the place, and everything looks clean and inviting. Even the sidewalk has been freshly poured and has horseshoes peppered in the cement to give it a charming kind of feel. I can tell from the look on Natalie's face that she loves it too. She turns to me, and the expression on her face is nothing short of joyous.
My father's gonna love this.
Like I care what that old bastard thinks. I like him even less now that I know he deliberately drove me and Nat apart. She might be willing to look past what happened, but it still burns in my gut. Only reason I haven't gone and punched the lights out of the old man is the fact that he's 87, out of his mind, and is probably going to be my father-in-law someday. Natalie squeezes my hand as she leads me up the sidewalk, and when she opens the door to the ranch home, she gasps.
Oh, my. Look at how beautiful and clean everything is.
She drags me forward, exclaiming as we go room by room through the areas designated as the museum proper. There are mannequins in gowns and posed in scenes, props well lit with a spotlight instead of relegated to a dusty corner, and it all looks like a real museum instead of just stuff in the front of someone's house. I make a mental note to give Slocum a bonus, because he did a real good job. My Natalie is so damn happy. She holds tight to my hand as we go through the tour area, and then has to go through all the new items in the gift shop, exclaiming over mugs with printed sayings or new postcards like they're something special. I endure it, even if I don't see what the big fuss is. I know it's important to her. She turns to look at me after a time, and there are more tears shining in her eyes.
Oh, Clay,
She breathes.
This is just how I imagined it would be when we tried to set up a museum. It's so perfect.
Her hands go to the front of my t-shirt.
Thank you so much, truly. You don't know how much this means to me.
That's the thing. I do know just how much it means to her. It means she has a fighting chance of being able to support her dad with this place instead of scraping pennies together. It means less to worry about. It means she might be able to have a life instead of giving everything up to a cranky old man like some kind of martyr. But all I can say is, glad you like it.
I love it.
Her enthusiasm fades a little as she looks around the expanded gift shop. There's a section that sells baked goods and coffee and has a few tiny tables set up like a miniature cafe. Slocum thought she might get more traffic through the gift area if she had a reason for them to linger, and I think it's a good idea.
I'm just not sure how one person's gonna manage all of this, though. I'll need to be in 3 places at once.
She thanks for a moment, and then adds,
4, actually. I've still got to look after Dad.
The thought makes me ill. She still thinks she has to do all this herself? Actually, I drawl, I've hired an actress to sell tickets at the front and give tours. She'll take care of that aspect. Got a script memorized and everything. I don't mention that I've agreed to finance a movie she's writing that will star her, and it'll end up costing a pretty penny. Nat would be upset. And there's an employee to run the gift shop, and I talked to Slocum, and a local baker's going to use this section over here, I point at the cafe, to sell fresh goods. She runs the counter and charges a markup, and you get 50% of the profits because you have a place for her to run her business. Works out for both of you. And then, of course, there's a cleaning crew that'll come by nightly to tidy the place up. It's all taken care of. Her eyes widen.
Then all I have to do is take care of my father.
Or me, I want to say. Or you can spend your time with me.
How much is this all gonna cost you, Clay? I worry you're getting a bad deal here.
Her pretty blue eyes look worried.
We need to talk about this, because I know it's not an open-ended agreement, and I don't want you to think I'm raiding your wallet.
Well now, I tease, pulling her against me. Anal's still on the table, you know. Her face colors bright red. Maybe not that, then, I murmur, leaning in to nibble on one of her tasty little ears. Maybe we find a quiet corner and I lift up your skirts and explore your pussy with my mustache, Been working real hard to regrow it for you. I can feel her tremble against me.
My bedroom is upstairs,
she whispers. Even better. I like the thought of pushing deep into Natalie on her girlhood bed. Makes me feel like a dirty scoundrel, all right. Lead the way. She takes my hand in hers again and leads me through the back of the house, to a set of stairs along the back wall. We head up, and it leads into a long hallway that stretches across the second floor. She turns immediately toward the first door, giving me a small smile over her shoulder that promises naughtiness.
"I want to see my daughter,"
calls out an imperious voice.
"I know you're keeping her from me."
Natalie hesitates, and I know the moment is gone. Damn it! She looks back at me, concern on her face.
I should see what's going on.
You should let the nurses handle it, I tell her, but it falls on deaf ears. Nat's soft heart isn't going to let her ignore her elderly father. She releases my hand and heads further down the hall toward the massive set of double doors that clearly leads to Chap Weston's room. I sigh and cross my arms over my chest, following behind her. Like I got a choice. I'll go wherever this girl leads, if nothing else, to protect her from anyone that'd try to take advantage of her. She knocks on the door, and then waves me back, indicating I should stay out of sight. Well, fuck that. I stroll forward as she enters the room.
Hello?
She calls.
Natalie?
Her father's voice is strong despite his age.
Why did you leave me with these terrible people?
I move toward the doorway, leaning casually just in sight so I can survey the situation. It's easy to see that Chap Weston hasn't deprived himself despite being broke. There's a massive TV on the wall. His bed is a carved monstrosity on a raised dais, and there's expensive-looking furniture all over the enormous room. Off in one corner is a minibar and a refrigerator, and a 10-foot-long fish tank full of colorful, exotic fish. Something tells me that if I went and checked out Nat's room, it'd be plain and sparse. But that's how things have always been with Chap Weston and his daughter. He treats her like she's one of the staff, unimportant and there for his convenience, and she lets him.
Mr. Weston,
One of the nurses says, patience in her voice.
all I'm trying to do is get you to change into your day clothing. It's not a good idea to sit in bed all day. You need to get up and move around. It's good for your heart.
It's clear from her tone that she's had this conversation with him plenty of times before.
I don't want to get up.
Chap Weston snarls at them.
I want to wallow in bed like the forgotten old man that I am.
When that doesn't elicit a response from the nurse, he turns to Natalie.
You see how they are. They act like it's a crime for me to lie in bed. They harass and poke until I'm exhausted.
Dad,
Nat says in a gentle voice. She moves to his side and extends her hand to him.
the nurses are just trying to do what's best for you. Alice is right. It's not good for you to lie in bed all day. You'll feel better if you get up and move around.
He slaps her hand away feebly.
Don't tell me what to do. You've abandoned me.
I haven't.
Nat protests.
You know I've been busy, Dad. We talked about this last week. I have a new job, and my new boss has been very understanding, but he needs me to spend my time with him.
Do I have to hire my own daughter to look after me?
Chap asks in a cranky voice.
Is that what this is coming to? I'm going to have to pay my daughter to spend time with her father.
Oh, please. What a dramatic old bullshitter. You couldn't afford to buy her away from me, I call out, a cocky drawl in my voice. Nat shoots me an unhappy look, but I don't care. Maybe I'm looking to pick a fight with the old bastard. Maybe I'm just daring the guy to keep treating Natalie like she's thoughtless, because I want her to see what an asshole he is. Chap Weston's gaze moves over the room and fixes on me. He squints in my direction, frowning at the sight of me leaning casually on the doorframe.
Who is that?
That's the man I'm working for.
Nat says vaguely.
Now, Dad,
Clay Price, I call out. It's clear he didn't recognize me, and it's clear that Nat's not going to volunteer the information, so I'm going to. I want to see if he remembers who I am and how he dicked me over. The old man's eyes narrow.
The trashy boy? The one that tried to steal my daughter away?
That's the one, I drawl before Natalie can respond. Trashy boy. Fuck him.
Dad,
Nat scolds.
Clay's a billionaire now. He's a good man, and he's not trash. He's helping me out of the mess we're in by hiring me.
He's probably just hiring you to get under your skirts, Natalie. I know what men like him are like.
The scowl on his face isn't that of a father as much as that of a child being robbed of his favorite toy.
You should spend time with me and not him.
I'm working for Clay,
Nat says again, her voice firm, and I'm fucking proud of that. At least for a moment I am, because then she continues with,
I'll be back at your side again shortly. It's just a temporary contract.
temporary my ass. Does she not want to make a go of this thing we have? I try to keep a neutral expression on my face, but I'm getting frustrated.
I see.
Chap Weston's tone is disapproving.
So you'd rather spend your time with trash than your ailing father?
That's not it at all.
No, I cut in. That's exactly it. She'd rather be with me. Everyone shoots a glare in my direction. I don't care. I'm getting annoyed that this old man's whining and they're all falling for it.
He's not good for you, Natalie. Haven't I warned you about men like him in the past?
Chap Weston shakes his head.
You're going to have to pick between a man that's using you and your father.
Oh, that's bullshit, I explode. You're the one using her.
Gentlemen, please,
Alice the nurse says.
let's not do this.
I wait for Nat to say something, to defend me to her father. But she just gets this helpless look on her face and gets to her feet.
I have to go, Dad.
Well, at least she's choosing to leave with me. I suppose that's something. Still kinda wish she'd put her dad in his place, though, and told him that she loved me. When she gets to my side, I pull her close and whisper in her ear. Not again, all right? He's doing this to make you dance like a puppet on strings. I ain't having it. Maybe I'm selfish, but I want Nat to myself. Long as we're in this contract, you're my assistant, not his. She nods.
Natalie. Nat. I hated seeing that the house was almost finished, Lex. What's wrong with me? Lexi. You're getting some good D and you don't want that to change? I don't see a problem with that. It's my home, but every time I go back there, I start to feel trapped. But Clay hasn't said that he wants me to stay either. I asked him if he wanted me to get on the pill the other day, and he said there was no need. Ouch. So he's got an exit strategy. That's gonna leave a mark. There's this lady online that does Santeria, if you send her some Bitcoin. We could ask her to sacrifice a chicken to give him bad luck. Be serious. I'm hurting here. Okay, sorry. Frowny face. I'm not good with the touchy-feely shit. You need someone to wear all black and glower in the shadows? I'm your girl. You need someone to stand at the back of the room and mock everyone normal? I'm your girl. You need a shoulder to cry on? And I make Santeria jokes. Sorry. I just wish I knew where I stood. Ask him? And say what? Hey, you know this contract we have? I really like being with you, and I'd be happy to stay even if you didn't pay me. Works for me. But that doesn't mean I can, you know? What about my dad? What about the upkeep on the business? Everything costs money, and that's the one thing I don't have. I don't want Clay to think I'm staying with him because I see him as a wallet. If only there was some way you could tell him how you really feel. Oh, wait. How about you? Wait for it. Tell him how you really feel. Hardy-har. I think I'm terrified of what he'll say. Our contract is terminated at any time at his discretion, not mine. What if I press him and he thinks I'm clingy and gold-digging and boots me out the door? Then, you have your answer? I want to throw my phone across the room. I hate that Lexi makes sense. She's basically telling me to be brave, to tell Clay how I feel, that I'm in love again, even if it's fast. Even if he isn't. Get it all off my chest so I can be at peace with however things go between us. If it was just me, I would, I think. I'd do my best to be strong and to sit Clay down and have a serious conversation with him about where we're going. As it is, I don't have any leverage in this relationship. I don't feel like I'm the one that can make that conversation happen. I've got too much baggage. My father, his failing business, my past with Clay where I didn't believe in him. Things are different now, and I'm the one with my hand out. I feel like no matter how I approach Clay with my true feelings, it's going to seem calculating and suspicious. If he'd just give me a hint of how he truly feels. That's the thing with Clay, though. He's so good at hiding his feelings behind a smile. He never lets anyone see what he's truly thinking. He can hide his emotions better than anyone. Every time I've fished for hints about our future, I've been met with zero emotion or turned away. I feel like I should know the answer, that we don't have a future together, and maybe I'm just being blind to it. All I need is a sign, I tell myself. Just one sign that Clay is coming to care for me again. We have great sex, and we enjoy being together. We're friends and fantastic sex partners. And I want more. I don't know if Clay does. So a sign from the universe would be great about now. Clay and I are curled up on the couch the next day, watching House Hunters. Maybe you need a house like that, I tell him when a couple rejects a lovely 4-bedroom ranch because it doesn't have granite countertops. It's not that fussy. It's spacious and way nicer than your trailer, but not so big that you couldn't take care of it yourself. That's Clay's answer whenever he doesn't necessarily agree with me, but doesn't want to contradict me. My legs are in his lap, and he begins to run a finger up and down the arch of one foot, tickling me as a distraction. What? I ask, giggling and trying to squirm out of his ticklish grip. What about my maid? I sputter. You have a maid? In your trailer? Well, yeah. You didn't think I was that tidy myself, did you? I did, I protest. I mean, who has a maid and lives in a single wide? Me. Clay grins. You'd be better off with a house, and you can afford one. Even the one on TV is a huge upgrade to what you have. Don't me, I tease. What's wrong with that house? You heard them, he says, nodding at the TV. No granite countertops. I snort. Dude, you live in a trailer right now, and you can't exactly live in this hotel forever. Couldn't we? He asks, a lazy grin on his face. I stare at him, not sure if I need to interpret that we as something other than what it is. Did he misspeak? Or does he mean he's thinking about the both of us in the future? At that moment, my phone rings. Frustrated, I grab it and leap off of the couch because I recognize the number. It's Alice. Clay's phone rings a scant second later, and he frowns at the screen before picking up the call. What is it? I turn the TV off and tuck the phone against my shoulder as I answer it, trotting out into the hall to get a little privacy. I don't want Clay overhearing the conversation about my dad, because I don't know how it's going to go. He gets really touchy when it comes to Dad. Ever since my visit the other day, he bristles at any mention of my father. It makes things awkward. "Hello?" I say softly. "This is Natalie." "Natalie? Oh, good. I'm glad I caught you." She sounds a little stressed. "What's up?" I shut the door to the suite behind me and pace down the hall in the hotel, barefoot. "It's your father. He's having a really bad day today." She pauses, and for a moment I can hear soft sounds of crying. My heart squeezes. "Is that him?" "Yes. He's been like that for hours. He doesn't recognize anyone, and he keeps looking for a Janelle. Do you know who that is?" "It's my mom," I murmur. "She died when I was 5. I'm sorry to hear that. He must have loved her very much." "I think he did. Sometimes I think Janelle was the only one he did love. I know a lot of the time it feels like Dad tolerates me rather than cares for me, and then I feel like that's a terrible thing to think, so I push the thought away. It's likely due to the age difference, I tell myself. By the time I was born, he was 62 and didn't know how to handle a young child. At that age, the only thing he knew to do with women under 20 was date them, which is also gross to think about and not helping the situation. He's had these spells before. It takes a while, but he'll eventually calm down. He's worked himself up quite a bit, actually, Alice tells me. I've called in the night nurse, but we can't get him to calm down and stop crying. He's been hysterical all afternoon. I have a call out to his doctor asking about possibly sedating him, but no one's gotten back to me yet. "It's that bad?" I ask, surprised. Alice normally seems so unruffled. "Pretty bad," she admits. "I don't suppose you'd be willing to come by tonight and see him. Maybe a familiar face would help shake him out of it." "I don't know," I begin. I hear Dad's voice calling out in the distance. "Natalie, are you talking to my Natalie?" he demands of Alice. "Tell her I need her here, right now." Oh, gosh. "I'll be there in an hour or so. I just need to let Mr. Price know." "Thank you. The sooner the better." I hang up. It takes me a moment to realize that Dad was aware that it was me on the phone, and if that was the case, he can't be as lost in his memories as he normally is. Strange. I don't know what to think. He's faked before to try and get my attention, but the crying seemed genuine. Either way, I don't think I can ignore it, not without a bucket load of guilt. I head back toward the suite I share with Clay. I need to think of a way to phrase things that doesn't make it seem like I'm abandoning him to go sit with my dad again. I am, but I want him to feel like I'm not bailing out, that it's only for tonight, that I'm not racing to my dad's side just to coddle him. When I re-enter the suite, it's quiet. Clay sitting on one end of the couch, his hand on his jaw, staring off into space. His mouth is a flat line. "Before you say anything," I begin, positive that he's upset at me already. "Dad's having a really bad day. I promise I won't be more than a few hours, and then I'll be back." "A bad day, huh?" His tone is flat, and the smile that curves his mouth has a hard edge to it. "Yes," I say softly. "I know I said I wouldn't go back again, but he needs me." "Just go." Clay gets up from the couch and walks away. That didn't sound like he's fine with it. Anxious, I follow behind him. "You're sure you don't mind?" He shrugs his shoulders. "You always go back to him. Go. We're done." I feel like I can't breathe. "We're done? What do you mean?" "I mean we're done," he says flatly. Contract's over. You can go home to your dear old dad and not have to worry about me any longer. My heart hurts. I feel numb. Just like that, I'm cast aside? He won't care that I'm gone? He won't ache and miss me again? Did he get me out of his system like he said he would? I stare at his back, waiting for him to turn around. Aching. Needing. Show me that you love me, I mentally beg. Tell me that there's hope for us, that I'm not the only one that feels like this. But he doesn't turn around. He just picks up his phone, stares at the screen, and then pockets it again. That's all I get? I ask hoarsely. That's all I've got to give right now. Wow. I feel as if I've been slapped. I'm beyond hurt. Tears blur my eyes, but I swipe them away. I don't want Clay seeing me cry. He doesn't get that. I want to be angry. I want to be furious. But I can't be, because I knew this was coming. I knew it was too good to be true, that he was too good to be true. I was a fool to think that we might be able to start where we were again, that his heart might not have changed in the last 7 years, and he could still love me as much as I loved him, that it wasn't just a contract that involved sex. Guess I've been fooling myself all along. I move to where my purse is resting on the table. I should get my clothes, my extra shoes, my toiletries. But right now they don't seem important. Right now I just want to gather up the pieces of my broken heart and scurry away. I feel empty and alone, and so hurt. So I just take my purse and head to the door. I can buy new clothes to replace the ones I'm leaving behind. I don't think I'll ever get over the feeling of being discarded. I head down the hall of the hotel toward the elevator. I'm shivering with cold, even though it's not that chilly. It's like my entire body has shut down at the realization that Clay Price doesn't love me. I'm just shocked that he can turn off his emotions like a switch. Isn't there anything there? His reaction was just so vacant. I can't believe he's breaking up with me because I'm visiting my dad. He knows that my dad isn't well. He knows that things will come up. He knows that my dad is manipulative, but he's also elderly, and I can't be cruel to him. I can't imagine Clay would want that either. Not after shelling out so much money to ensure that he's comfortable despite things. It's not adding up. I don't understand why he was so cold, so empty to me, like he had nothing to give me. The longer I think about it, the angrier I start to get. I stare at the elevator doors, not pushing the button that will call the elevator itself and take me away from Clay and our happy little nest. How dare he? How dare he just use me and make me think we could have a chance? After the weeks we've spent together, happy, wonderful weeks full of joy and love-making and just enjoying each other's company, all I get is a "we're done"? I clench my fists, making a sound of frustration in my throat. No, I deserve more than that. I deserve an explanation of what I did wrong. I deserve to hear how he truly feels. I deserve a real conversation, like two consenting adults would have when they're breaking up. Instead, all I'm getting is a stiff, closed-off response, just like I did 7 years ago. Well, fuck that. I march back toward the room, full of righteous fury and indignation. Didn't we laugh over how this went down 7 years ago? How silly we were? I'm not going to let him do it again. Not this time. I get to the door, and I realize I've left my key card inside. I can't let myself back in. Damn it. I knock on the door, quietly at first, and then insistently, banging my fist on the elegant wood. My father can wait. It's probably just a ploy to get me to see him again. Even if it isn't, he's got nurses there. I'm not letting my heart take a back seat again. If this isn't meant to be between me and Clay, I can accept that. After I get a real conversation. I continue knocking furiously, my knuckles bruising under the stress. It's taking Clay an eternity to answer, but I'm not giving up. After what seems like forever, the door opens and Clay answers. "What's wrong with you?" I immediately spit at him. He flinches. It's then that I notice his eyes are stark. His face is as blank as ever, but there's something missing. Something wrong. He's really pale, and he's still got his phone in his hand. "You're back," he says dully. "I am," I say, pushing my way inside. My indignation over our breakup is receding in the wake of real concern. "Clay, something's wrong. I know I'm being all pissy, but I know you well enough to realize that something's not right, and—" I go silent as he grabs me as I walk past, and then enfolds me in his arms. He buries his face against my neck and just holds me close. So close. Is he regretting our breakup? "I'm sorry," he says a moment later, and there's a strange tightness in his throat. "You can go see your dad. I ain't gonna make you pick between us, because I'm not good company tonight." I hesitate, then slide my hand up and down his back. "Clay, what is it?" One hand goes to my hair, and he curls his hand in it, anchoring himself against me. He doesn't lift his face from my throat, and after a moment, I can feel wetness there. Tears. "Gage called. Seth's dead." Oh, my poor Clay. That's why he's been so stone-faced, so alone. His youngest brother's dead. I hold him close, feeling his pain and wishing I could take it away. How I feel in this moment doesn't matter nearly as much as what he's going through. He can break up with me some other time.
Chapter 15. 5 days later. Clay. Still hasn't sunk in. Don't feel real. Feels like at any time I'm going to turn around and see my little brother fidgeting on the sofa. He'd hate something like this, I think. Seth was always uncomfortable at formal gatherings. Didn't like to wear a tie. Didn't like how solemn everyone was. He liked it best when people were laughing. No one feels like laughing right now, though. I sit in a chair in the parlor of Boone's big honkin' house as people slowly trickle in for the wake. The stair banisters are hung with black crepe, and there are wreaths of flowers everywhere. A big portrait of Seth is on an easel near the entrance, and Boone's doing his best to be host and somehow managing to keep his shit together. Ivy's at his side, her hand tight on his arm, and I'm not sure if she's propping him up or if she needs the support herself. Maybe a little bit of both.
"It was a lovely funeral,"
someone says, passing by. The wife of an employee. Someone. Dunno who. Dunno that I care.
"Thank you,"
Nat says, taking the casserole dish that's shoved into her hands.
"I'll just go put this away. Won't you have a seat? The family's in the main parlor."
She hustles past, a flash of black in her dress, her pretty legs set off by her heels. Feels wrong to be checking out my girl's legs at my brother's funeral, but I don't know what else to do. Just so fucking glad she's here at my side. I pushed her away when I got the news, I think. I was in shock. Don't even know half of what I said. I just know that she stormed away, crying, and then came back. She came back for me, and that's when I lost it. Bawled like a baby on her shoulder and told her about Seth's. Fuck. I rubbed my mouth. Can't even say the word. Can't. Doesn't seem real that my youngest brother's gone. Doesn't seem right that I should be at his funeral a little over a month after we were just at Eddie's funeral and I decided to change my life. At least now I've got Nat. I don't know what I'd have done if she wasn't here. She's been amazing this week. Ivy's struggled, thanks to her own grief and her pregnancy. Boone's been a mess. Me too, really. Knox has been distant. Gage has been drunk. We're all miserable. But Nat just stepped in and took over the funeral arrangements. Wanted to make it easier on everyone, so we let her. She and Ivy worked on it while me and my brothers try to figure out what to do with the Price brothers now that we're 4 instead of 5. Just the thought makes my eyes sting. Fuck. Stare up at the ceiling even as people file into the parlor and start murmuring condolences to each other. Gage sits next to me, a beer in his hands. Seth's favorite beer. For the first time in the last week, he isn't tipping a bottle back to his mouth. He's just holding it, empty. Think he's the one that's taking this harder than all of us. I'm tore up, but Gage, he's broken. He and Seth were closest out of all of us, both in age and in friendship. I'm the one that nagged him to go back to work, Gage says suddenly. Huh? I look over at him. Gage stares at his beer, expression hollow. I told him that Boone wanted him to show his stuff, that he needed to make us proud. Everyone did their turn on a rig, you know. Didn't matter that we had money. It was a pride thing. That's what Price brothers do. We roughneck. And he didn't want to go. He rolls the bottle back and forth in his hands. I talked him into it. You didn't know, I tell him, the knot back in my throat. Seems permanently lodged there lately. It was a freak accident. Equipment slipped. It happens. I wiggle my toes in my boot, because every time there's a rig accident, I think about mine and what it cost me. It cost Seth his life. I should have known, Gage says bitterly. Seth was such a dumbass, you know. Never paid attention. That's why his rig had an accident. He always got distracted. The others won't say whose fault it was that the pipe got loose, but you and I both know he was a lazy little fuck. He gets up and suddenly flings the beer bottle across the room. It crashes against the wall, leaving a wet splat, and the wake goes silent. Can't stay here, Gage says, and storms out of the room. Natalie comes in a moment later, eyes wide. Her gaze goes to the stain on the wall. I'll get some towels. She races away and comes back a short time later, shooing Ivy away from cleaning it up. She's got it. She's taking care of all of us, I think. Nat hates seeing people hurt. She just wants to make it better. I don't deserve her. She's too good. I watch, aching, as she picks up glass and then hurries off to dispose of it. I worry I've fucked things up between us. That night, I know I hurt her feelings. She came back anyhow, and I cried on her shoulder. But ever since then, I know I've been distant and preoccupied. It's like everything that happens this week is another stab in the gut. Meetings with shareholders to determine what's going to happen to Seth's share of Price Brothers All. Meetings with lawyers to determine how his estate will be settled. Meetings with employees to fill out work reports. Meetings with the funeral home. It's a never-ending parade of reminders that my little brother, who had his entire life ahead of him, lost it on a simple rig accident. and I haven't been dealing with it too well. I haven't touched Nat in days. I've wanted to. God, have I wanted to. But it feels wrong to touch her and be happy to have her in my arms when Seth's gone. I feel guilty for the contentment I feel when I wake up with her in my bed, curled up next to me. I don't know how to handle it. So I don't. And I suspect that just makes things worse. Nat hasn't said anything to me, but she has to be imagining the worst. How can she not? I haven't been the man she deserves. Not lately. Someone comes and sits down next to me. I straighten, about to tell him to fuck off, when I realize it's a heavily pregnant blonde woman. Ivy. She settles in the chair next to me and then rests a hand on the top of her belly, a handkerchief clutched in her fingers.
Mind if I sit for a few? Baby's feeling a little heavy today.
Course not, I tell her. I put a smile on my face because she looks so tired and worn. She's due in about 2 weeks, and she looks exhausted. This hasn't been easy on any of us, but I know Boone's taking things real hard because he feels like a father figure to all of us. Fuck, who am I kidding? We're all wrecked. But I feel like I need to be light-hearted so Ivy doesn't worry. Junior there sitting on your bladder?
Not Junior,
she tells me as we launch into our familiar game. I take up the reins. I've been thinking you should go with something close to Boone's name, like Bud or Bo. Ivy looks over at me and just gives me this sweet, content smile.
We decided on a name last night, you know. It's going to be Seth.
She rubs a hand down the swell of her belly.
I think he'd like that.
He'd fucking love it, I tell her hoarsely. My vision blurs and doubles. Fuck. I'm gonna bawl like a baby right in front of Ivy. God damn it, but I miss my little brother. I miss him so much. Wordlessly, Ivy offers me her handkerchief. I take it and blow my nose loudly. Thanks. As I do, Nat sails past, another dish in her hands. She's talking animatedly to a couple that have come in, showing them round the house. Distant cousins, I think, judging by their clothes. Or employees of PBO that worked on a rig with Seth. Dunno. There's a strange mix at this wake. Some of the folks are dressed in Armani suits and wearing gold jewelry. Some are just wearing their best Sunday shirt and jeans, 'cause that's all they've got that's proper. All that matters is they're here to show respect. And I like that Nat treats them all like close personal friends of the family, even Seth's stoner buddies that show up and huddle in the corner.
She's been such a big help this week,
Ivy says in a soft voice.
She knows we're struggling, and she's been doing whatever she can to help out. I'd have been lost without her.
She looks over and smiles at me weakly.
Winona wasn't much help. Finals and all that.
I nod slowly. She's got a real soft heart. Hates seeing us hurting.
She's wonderful, Clay.
I know. My sister-in-law reaches over and pats my hand.
Just making sure you do. I know you paid her to be your girlfriend, but I can tell that you care for her. You just make sure you tell her that at some point, okay? Girls like to be told that sort of thing. I know you boys all think it's just implied, but it's not.
I nod.
I just don't want you to let her get away.
Ivy rubs her hand slowly up and down her belly again.
Boone told me about the past. when you two broke up. You deserve happiness. Just don't let it slip between your fingers.
She gives me a self-deprecating little smile.
Look at me, lecturing you like I'm the great love expert or something. I just like her, and I'd like a sister-in-law at some point. And I think she's good for you.
I kind of think she's good for me, too. I'll tell her. I promise.
Natalie. I'm exhausted after the wake. Hours after the guests have gone, I'm with the kitchen staff, cleaning up the endless pile of dishes. Ivy's upstairs sleeping. She's far too pregnant to be helping clean up. The brothers are all upstairs playing cards and sharing memories of Seth. He loved poker, Clay told me last night, and so they wanted to play a few hands in his honor after his funeral. I totally understand, and I'm keeping busy while Clay gets the grief out of his system. There's a mounting list of chores to be done, and I'm used to cleaning until late, thanks to my one-woman show at Dad's museum. So I find the vacuum in Ivy's enormous house and clean while the others occupy themselves with their grief. I'm not good with it, I don't think. My mother died when I was young, and my father's side of the family was pretty much dead and gone by the time I showed up. I've never had a big extended family, never had siblings. There's been stepmothers, of course, but I didn't cry when they left. I can't imagine the grief that Clay is going through right now, so I do what I can to help out. I hate seeing him hurting so much. Every night, he doesn't want to make love. He just pulls me close and holds me for hours on end. He doesn't say anything, doesn't cry, doesn't get angry at the world that took his brother from him. But he needs my touch. Even when I wake up in the morning, he's still wrapped around me, as if he's terrified I'm going to leave him. But I'm not doing that. I'm never leaving my sweet Clay again. The other night was a wake-up call for me. I realized how easy it is for me to retreat into my hurt and just walk away when I'm upset. I can't do that anymore. It cost me 7 years of happiness, and I'll be damned if I'll let it cost me 7 more. When I'm unhappy, I need to communicate it better. And I'm going to have a long, long talk with Clay about shutting me out when he's hurting. Now's not the time, though. It can all wait a few more days. I finish vacuuming and wrap up the cord. A moment later, an arm goes around my waist and Clay buries his face against my neck, inhaling deep. All finished? I ask softly. For now. Played a million hands and shared stories about Seth. Still didn't bring him back. His words are unhappy and softly slurred. He's had several beers, probably to try and drown his feelings. Poor thing. I turn and hug him close, wishing I could take away just a little of his pain. Shall we go? Or do you want to stay here tonight? He shakes his head. We can go. Want to be alone with you. My heart starts racing at that. It's been days since we've had sex, and I'm craving it, even though I know Clay hasn't been in the mood. I understand it completely, but my body still hungers for his. Maybe tonight we'll make love again. But Clay's silent as the driver takes us back to the hotel, and when we get in bed that night, he holds me close and tucks me against him, and that's it. He needs more time then. I understand. I turn and hold him close, playing with his hair, and he falls asleep with his head on my breasts. In the morning, he's gone bright and early. Nat, work today. More meetings. Sorry to bail. Sleep in, okay? CP. My heart aches for him all over again. He's clearly struggling. I want him to reach out to me, but I think he's doing the best he can right now. He comes home late that evening, and he's distracted by a stream of constant texts from his brothers. I watch TV with him, but it's clear he's not paying attention, and it's a quiet evening. In the morning, He leaves early again for more work business, and when I wake up, he murmurs something about trying to come home early to spend time with me and presses a kiss to my forehead. Then he's gone. I watch him go and swallow my sigh. He's still remote, and I wish I knew how to reach him. I also wonder if I'm part of the problem. I'm here constantly, and he feels obligated to spend time with me, even though it's clear that the brothers have pressing business matters that are eating up their time. I did some research on Price Brothers Oil while Clay was gone, and was surprised to see that it's an enormous company with thousands of employees. Clay's never indicated that to me, but maybe it takes up far more time than he's been giving it, and it's catching up with him? I don't want him to feel like he has to rush back to me, that I won't understand if he works late, that I can't comprehend what he's going through, or that I'm going to be selfish and demand that he spends his time with me. I just want his happiness, and I want to alleviate some of the stress and emotional pain he's going through right now. The next day, I decide I'll visit my dad. It'll get me out of Clay's hair and let him have some alone time. Maybe that's what he needs right now. I write him a quick note before I head out the door. Clay, I'm just getting in your way right now. Go on to Dad's. Take your time. Nat.
Clay. Meetings this week have been an absolute beast. It's been one thing after another. Seth didn't leave a will. Why would he? He was barely 21. And so his shares have gone to the next of kin, which are me and my brothers. Instead of sinking it back into the company and just going about our business, we've been discussing ways we can use the money to honor the memory of our brother. We're hashing out what we want to get done with the lawyers. Knox thinks scholarships are the way to go. Boone wants to set up pensions for the employees. Gage? Well, Gage is just simmering with rage about the entire thing and doesn't have an answer. Me? I want to talk to Nat, see what she thinks. She's always got a good way of looking at things. Today, the ache of my brother's death hurts a little less. Today, I can look at the last picture I have of him, tucked on the sun visor in my truck, and not feel like I've been stabbed in the gut. I still have a yawning void in my heart where he used to be, but I'm starting to feel like I can survive now. Having Natalie helps. This morning I woke up to see her sweet, sleepy face and her lush curves tangled in the sheets, and it made it difficult to leave. Been thinking all day about getting back to her and peeling off her clothes and getting her under me. Been far too long since I've been inside her. I think I was too numb before, but now the need for her is back with a vengeance, and my dick's reminding me what it's been missing out on. I promised Nat that I'd try to make it home early today, and I decided to make that promise a reality. I cut back on a few meetings. Intelligent Camo can wait a few more days, along with my plans for buying land. Thinking about building a house for me and Nat. Something designed just how she wants it instead of moving into someone else's old house. Something that's perfect for both of us. I like the thought, and I like imagining the way her eyes will light up when she realizes what I want to do. She loves them corny house shows on HGTV and the like. Can't blame her. She's lived under her dad's thumb for all her adult life. I imagine having a house all her own is something out of a dream for her. I want to make that dream a reality. Show her how much I care. How much I want to make her happy. Show her that I'm not the selfish asshole that I seem. I can hardly wait to see her. And when I get out of the elevator that leads to our floor in the hotel, I practically sprint down the hallway toward our room. Maybe if I'm lucky, she's still gonna be in bed, undressed and sexy. I can slide under the sheets and crawl between her thighs and kiss her sweet cunt for hours. She loves that. Every time I make her come by eating her out, she acts all surprised, like it's a gift of some kind. Fucking love that. Actually, I love everything about her. My dick's hard by the time I get to the door, and it takes me a few moments of fumbling to get the key card to unlock the door. When I do, I shut the door quietly so I don't wake her and sneak inside. Except, she ain't in bed. I poke my head into the bathroom, and she ain't there either. Confused, I pace through the room. Where'd she go? Then I see the note she left on the table. My heart starts to hammer at the sight of it. I pick it up slowly, dread creeping through my veins.
Clay, I'm just getting in your way right now. Gone to Dad's. Take your time. Nat.
In my way? In my fucking way? Is she crazy? She's the only thing that's keeping me from losing my shit lately. When I've felt lost, she's been right there to hold me close. When I felt overwhelmed with Seth's funeral, she jumped right in and took care of things. She's been at my side, loving and sweet and supportive, and it's been so fucking appreciated, and she thinks she's in the goddamn way? My mouth goes dry. I've chased her away. Fuck. I know I haven't been as affectionate since Seth died. I know it's been a week since we've made love. I know she's reached out to me and I've been remote. It's just my way of dealing. I thought she knew that I needed a little time in my head to sort through things. But what if she didn't? What if she thought I was silently trying to send her a message to go away? What if I've lost her? The thought is like a gut punch, and I feel sick. I drop to a nearby chair, reading the note again. Take my time. Take my time? I don't want time if it's not with her. I don't want my time. I want every second, every hour of her time. I can't lose Nat. Not when I've just got her back. I fling myself out of the chair, grabbing my keys. No sedan today, no limo today. I don't want to wait for him to get here. Time to take my truck. I race down to the elevator, and when it doesn't come fast enough, head for the stairs. If Nat's gone, I'm gonna fucking bring her back. If she thinks she's not important to me, then it's up to me to show her just how much she means to me. If it takes more money, I'll spend it. If it takes groveling, I'll do it. I just can't imagine life without her at my side. Already I feel empty at the thought. I fucked up. I was hurting, and instead of reaching out to my girl, I pushed her away. Just like 7 years ago, I didn't talk to her. I pushed her away, and now I'm gonna pay the price. I only hope it's not too late. Chapter 16. Clay. A man's never driven so fast down the highway. I push the pedal in my truck down to the floorboards. Every minute that ticks past feels like another minute that might make things too late. It's tearing me up inside that she thinks she's in the way, that she's leaving for my sake. Fuck all that. I'm a selfish enough bastard to admit that I want her at my side always. Her staying is for my sake. Didn't realize what a good thing I had when she came back to me, agreeing to my stupid-ass contract and my ignorant demands. Fucking anal. I demanded anal because I thought it was funny. Here she was having to give up her pride and her dignity just so she could keep her dad off the streets, and I'm demanding her butthole because it soothes my pride. I'm such a goddamn bastard. I hate myself right now for what I've put her through. I don't want to lose her. I can't. When I pull up to the Chap Weston Museum and Ranch, I growl to myself at the realization that it's the grand reopening and the place is packed. There's not a spot open in the newly expanded parking lot. I circle it twice, tapping impatiently on my steering wheel and hoping a slot'll open up. When one doesn't, I get tired of waiting and drive my truck onto the freshly landscaped grass and park it there. I'll fucking pay for the flower beds to be fixed. I don't care. Right now, I just want to see my Natalie. I slam out of the truck and up the path. There's a short line waiting to get in, and I push ahead of them. Someone protests, but no one stops me. Inside, the place is twice as crowded, and I push past 2 rooms crammed full of people before someone taps me on the shoulder.
You need to wait your turn, mister.
A woman with the baby under her arm and 2 kids behind her tells me, giving me her best mom glare. I ain't here for the tour, I say, trying to push past. A big man, probably her husband, moves in front of the doorway to the next room, blocking me. He crosses his arms over his chest. You need to stop and think about what you're doing, sir. Fuck, enough with this. I'm normally the good-natured Price brother, but right now, I'm about to punch a man in the face. And you need to move.
What's going on?
A woman asks in a bright, chipper voice. Suddenly, there's a pink cowboy hat at my side, and for a flash of a second, I think it's Natalie. But it's only the actress I hired to do the tour. She's dressed similar to Natalie's old costume, her hair and pigtails.
Oh, Mr. Price,
She beams at me.
are you here for the grand opening?
I'm looking for Natalie, I tell her. Natalie Weston?
Oh,
She gestures past her.
I think she's actually helping out in the gift shop right now.
I grab her by the shoulders and gently move her to the side. That's all I needed to know. I step forward, but the man's still blocking my way, and I give him a deadly look.
It's all right, sir,
The actress tells the man.
Mr. Price is the owner.
I don't correct her. Ain't got time for that shit. All I care about is that the man moves to the side and then I rush past him, frantically tearing through the crowded rooms and looking for the gift shop. I can't be too late. I refuse to think it. If I can get her to hear me out, there's still a chance for us. I burst into the gift shop, and to my frustration, it's twice as crowded as any other room. People are grabbing up souvenirs like they're going out of fashion. The tiny cafe tucked in the corner has a huge line, and I can hear the coffee machine's frother going a mile a minute. I look around desperately for Nat, but she's dark-haired and short and doesn't stick out in the crowd. Is she not here? Did I miss her? Or is she hiding from me? The thought wrenches my heart. If I've lost her,
A double mocha latte?
a familiar voice calls out, and as I look in that direction, I see a familiar arm holding up a coffee in a Chap Weston decorated disposable cup.
Double mocha latte? Who had it?
Nat. Thank God. I move forward, pushing people aside. There she is, looking just as pretty as ever. Her hair's down round her shoulders and curled slightly, and she has a pretty pale pink dress on that makes her look all peaches and cream. her lips part in surprise as I move forward and take the coffee out of her hand. "Hey, that's mine," someone says, protesting. I put the coffee down on the counter and take her hands in mine. Her mouth is open slightly, and she stares in shock at me.
Clay?
Fuck, I'm just so glad to see her. She's here. I caught her before she could walk out of my life again. The emotions I've been holding back for the last 2 weeks rushed through me with staggering force, and I dropped to my knees and buried my face in her skirts, my arms locked round her waist. "Don't ever leave me," I tell her raggedly. "Never, ever again."
Oh, honey,
she says softly, and her hand strokes my hair.
I wasn't leaving. I just wanted to give you a little room to breathe.
I don't need room to breathe. I need you. I look up at her. You're all I've ever needed. The look on her face is beautiful to see. A tiny, understanding smile curves her pretty mouth, and she strokes her fingers over my short beard.
I know it's been a hard few days, Clay. I just didn't want you to feel like you had to rush on my account. I know there's a lot demanding your time right now.
I shake my head, because this last hour or two, when I thought I lost her again, has made things crystal clear to me. Nothing matters if I don't have her. She makes me happy. I love you, Natalie Weston. Someone in the crowd awes. Nat's smile grows wider, radiant.
I love you too, Clay Price. I always have. I've been waiting for you to say that, you know. I think I've always been waiting for you.
I get to my feet and cup her face, bending so I can give her a kiss. I claim her mouth with a fierce, possessive locking of lips, showing her just how damn much she means to me.
This is a very sweet moment,
someone nearby says.
But can you guys do that somewhere away from the counter? I'm trying to make coffee here.
Nat pulls away, her eyes shining.
My bedroom's upstairs, remember?
She whispers. Say no more. I lock my hands under Nat's hips and lift her into my arms. She gives a little scream of surprise and flings her arms around my neck, pressing her tits near my face. Takes everything I have not to plant a kiss on 'em, but there's dozens of people watching us right now. I push my way through the crowd, toward the back of the house where I remember the stairs are, my woman in my arms. It isn't until we're up the stairs that I set Natalie down. A glance toward the far end of the hall shows the double doors of Chap Weston's rooms are closed, and I half wonder if my girl's gonna head down there like she did last time and talk to her daddy. I want to tackle her into bed, but I know the nurturer in her always wants to make sure that everyone's doing okay, even her asshole old man. But she doesn't even look in that direction today. She puts a finger to her lips and opens the door to her room, then tugs me inside. And wow. I remember sneaking into Nat's room once as a teenager, back when we were dating for the first time. I remember that everything was pink and white and girlish, like she was 5 years old instead of 16. Now, 7 years later, I'm a little startled to see that it hasn't changed a bit. Nat still has a ruffled white canopy bed and pink walls. There's a fluffy white throw rug on the floor, delicate white dressers, and a chest covered with worn stuffed animals off to one side. It still looks like the room of Shirley Temple instead of a grown woman. I say softly.
I know,
Nat says, and moves to my side. She buries her face against my chest.
It's a hideous room, but my dad thought I was a little girl, emphasis on little, until I graduated. I was going to change it, but then there wasn't time, and then when there was time, there wasn't any money. So, yeah.
She slides her hands around my waist.
I hope it isn't too much of a boner killer.
Ain't nothing that could kill the boner I have for you, I admit. Though this might be close. She giggles, and the sound is so sweet and lovely that it makes me ache all over again. Just being in her presence makes me hard. God, I love this woman.
Maybe just close your eyes,
She murmurs and tucks her head against my chest again. Nah, I'd miss out on getting a look at you. I smooth my hand down her silky hair. I thought I'd lost you. Thought you were gone for good.
Absolutely not. Remember that our contract states that I'm at your disposal.
That fucking contract. I'm sorry I made you sign it. I should have came to you and just asked you out on a date like a normal person. Her hand smooth up and down my back, the soft motion both soothing and erotic all at once.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have my share of normal people in my life. I probably wouldn't have understood the question.
I chuckle.
I wouldn't have left you.
She tells me in a gentle voice.
Never. I've actually been scared for the last few weeks that you're the one tired of me. And I've been wondering how I'm going to cope when you send me away again.
You crazy? I tighten my arms around her, wondering how I'm going to manage to get this dress off her without distracting her from her thoughts. I've been in love with you all over again since you kissed me in the limo and let me know how mad you were about it.
I'm glad you say that,
Nat admits with a sigh.
because I've been in love with you all over again since the beginning, and I thought I was being too clingy.
You were? I frowned. You cried after we had sex.
Well, yeah,
She admits and pokes my side.
you rather ungraciously pointed out that you'd paid me to have sex, and here I was all in love with you again, and it made me feel guilty.
I groan. I probably did say that. I'm not real smooth with words, Nat. You might have noticed that,
I might have.
she teases.
You might have also noticed that I tend to not ask questions, and then I get my feelings hurt without telling you how I truly feel.
That did occur to me. I rub a hand up and down her back. So basically what I'm hearing is that we're both shit at communicating.
I believe that to be an accurate statement, yes.
Maybe we should work on that, I tell her. I glance around her room and spot a pin on the dresser beside her bed. Pressing a kiss atop her head, I pull away from her arms and pick it up. I sit on the edge of the bed, and when she moves to stand closer to me, I take her hand in mine. I don't know if you noticed, but for a while, I was writing things on my hand so I wouldn't forget how to act.
I remember.
She tells me.
I saw an S and an R. I wondered what they were for.
The R was for ruthless because I decided I was going to be ruthless about getting you my bed. And the S was for scoundrel because Knox suggested I be one. Said that I should be mean and not care about your feelings in this contract I made you sign. That I was going to use you to get what I wanted and not care somehow. I shake my head. Shitty advice.
Maybe you don't ask your single brother for advice about women?
Nat teases, smiling. I nod. Thing is, I couldn't be mean to you. You've always just been so sweet and perfect and exactly what I wanted. And every time I tried to be ruthless, it never worked out. I ain't cut out to be a scoundrel. I take the pen and draw a tiny heart on her knuckle. All I know how to do is be in love with you.
That's not such a terrible thing,
She tells me breathlessly.
So, do I get to write a message on your hand?
I hand her the pen. Go for it. She takes my fist in her hand and begins to delicately write something. It's just a few lines, and when she releases me, I'm a little surprised to see an E there. E?
Because you're my everything,
She admits softly.
and you need to remember that.
I groan. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I take the pen from her hand and put it back down on the dresser, then pull her close. I love you, Nat.
I love you too, Clay.
Her smile is happy, gentle. I lean in and give her a light kiss. Way I see it, you've got two choices.
Oh?
You can let me fuck you hard and dirty here on your bed, but you've got to be quiet, I tell her, and slide a hand up her skirt to cup her ass. Or we can go out to my car, drive down the road about a mile and pull over, and then I can fuck you hard and dirty there and hope the cops don't stop to pay a visit.
Choices, choices.
She shifts her weight, and her ass brushes against my hand. Little tease.
I think I'm gonna go with the bed in here. It looks like it needs a little dirtying up, don't you think?
I like the way she thinks. You sure you're gonna be able to stay quiet?
If not, you'll just have to shove something in my mouth, won't you?
Her eyes gleam. I pull her forward and bury my face against her tits again, stifling my groan. You are the naughtiest thing ever, Natalie Weston. I love that about you,
You love everything about me.
she says lightly, a slight wobble in her voice. I do, I tell her. Don't you ever think I don't. I loved you from the moment I saw you. I loved you even when I thought you hated me. I loved you then, and I love you now. Don't think I know how to not love you,
I love you too.
she whispers.
So much.
I pull her down next to me. Then you ain't gonna mind if I pull this skirt of yours up and test drive my new beard? It's grown in quite a bit. She shivers.
Let's check things out, shall we?
Her hand goes to my jaw, and she feels it, pretending to consider the length.
It seems acceptable.
She tells me after a moment.
Maybe not as good as before, but acceptable.
That just means my tongue will have to work a little harder, I tell her, and get to my feet. My cock's already responding to this playful talk between us, hard and pressing against the front of my jeans. I ignore it, though. Not when I've got Nat ready to let me go down on her in this fluffy monstrosity of a bed. I ain't getting my nut until she's come at least once. I want to see if she can be as quiet as she thinks she can, because from my experience, Nat don't know how to be quiet when she's in bed, which is pretty damn fun. I want to break that control she thinks she has, too. So when she beams up at me, all gorgeous and soft, I lean and give her a quick kiss and then say, "Get on your hands and knees." Her cheeks flush immediately, which is just the prettiest damn thing.
What?
Hands and knees, I repeat, grinning.
But I thought we were gonna...
Oh, we are. Trust me on that. She bites her lip, and her face seems to be an even brighter red.
From behind?
She asks, scandalized. Absolutely. You chicken?
Of having your face in my privates?
No.
Don't be silly.
But she can't quite keep her bluster together. She gets to her feet, smooths her skirts, and then climbs on the bed on hands and knees, and looks over her shoulder at me. Now, remember, I drawl, gotta stay quiet. Don't want to be found out.
I know.
I grab the hem of her skirt and begin to slowly drag it up her thighs. She shivers, and I can tell she's got goose flesh. She's practically trembling with anticipation. I am the luckiest son of a bitch ever to have this woman. Humbled by that realization, I vow that she's gonna get 2 orgasms from me going down on her, not just 1. She deserves 100, but I suspect she'll be squirming off the bed by the time I get 2 out of her. I carefully lift her skirt all the way up and blow a bit of air on the backs of her creamy thighs. She squirms, sucking in a breath as I do, and I can practically see her pussy clench through her tiny little panties. They're a pale, cream-colored satin, the edges decorated with a bit of lace, and they're just like her, elegant, ladylike, and still sexy. They're also coming off right away. I hook a finger in the fabric and slowly drag them over the curves of her ass, revealing her pale skin. She shifts as I do, and it's almost like her pretty ass is wiggling at the thought of me tonguing her from this angle. Inch by inch, I drag the panties down, and then her pussy is exposed, all pink folds and skin gleaming with a hint of arousal. Nat makes a little sighing noise when I pull the panties down her thighs. Shh, I remind her. You're supposed to be quiet.
I am, she whispers. And should I take my shoes off?
She taps one foot against my leg. Nope, I tell her. All I need are these panties gone. You can keep the rest on while I fuck your pussy with my tongue. She bites back a low little moan and sinks down on her elbows.
God, Clay,
she breathes.
You're filthy.
I am. She likes that, though, I can tell. She's already wet just at the thought of my tasting her, and I haven't even put my mouth anywhere near her yet. I move off the bed from where I'm kneeling behind her, just so we can remove her panties off both her legs. I pull them off and then hand them to her. Keep those safe for me. She lowers her head to the blankets and gives a little muffled groan. Quiet, quiet, I remind in a low voice, even as I trace one finger up the inside of her thigh. She's trembling, and when I finally get my finger on its slow journey up to her cleft, I touch her ever so lightly, moving back and forth against the seam of her cunt. I want you to be fucking soaked when I put my mouth on you, baby, I tell her. Get that pussy sopping wet for me so I can lick up all those juices. She shudders and snatches a pillow from near the headboard, holding it against her face to muffle her heavy breathing. Spread your legs for me, I think, I tell her, rubbing my finger back and forth over her folds. Nice and wide. Nat shivers again, and her hips jerk, almost as if she's trying to clench around my cock. Fuck, I love that. I'm dying to push my fingers into her and fuck her with my hand. But I'm gonna drag this out. I want her to lose control, and the added torture of trying to be quiet is just part of the game. It's clear she's enjoying this, because she's so wet the insides of her thighs are gleaming with moisture. I want to lick it all up. Hell, maybe I will. Maybe I should lie on my back and let her sit on my face for a bit. The mental image is enough to make my sack tighten, as if I'm ready to come too. And when she obediently parts her legs wide, revealing her pank folds, it's too much to resist. Scoot up a bit on the bed.
What?
She glances back at me, her face flushed and her hair tousled. Her eyes are glazed with need, and I barely even touched her. Scoot up. I give her plump ass a light slap and then rub the spot. Enough so I can lie back on the bed. Confused, she crawls forward a foot or two, and then looks back at me.
What are you gonna do?
Never you mind, I tell her. You'll find out in a minute. I press kisses to the curves of her delicious bottom, drawing out the tension a little. Then, when she's good and squirming again, I lie back on the bed and shimmy up until her knees are on my shoulders, and I've got the prettiest sight a man ever saw. Natalie Weston's cunt spread inches from my face. Perfection. I slide my hands up and down her thighs, rubbing them. Lower that sweet pussy a little, baby. Nat sucks in a breath, and then moans into her pillow when she realizes what I mean.
Clay, you want me to...
Hell yeah, I do. Since she ain't moving right away, I reach up and drag a finger up and down her folds, coating it with her juices, and then bring it to my mouth. You taste so fucking good, baby. She bites back her whimper, and then her ass wiggles just a little, and her hips ease down a fraction.
My skirt,
She breathes. Don't care about her skirt. All I care about is getting my mouth on her pussy. I tuck the fabric of the skirt behind my head and give it a little tug on her thighs. Lower, babe. Nat moans, but she does as I ask, spreading her thighs wider so she can move her body down toward my face. Then, she's there, a mere inch from my mouth, and the musk of her is filling my nose with her scent. I love this. Love the way she smells, the way she tastes. Even love the pretty, flushed folds of her cunt and the dark curls that surround it. I lift my head, eager to have a taste, and drag my tongue up the seam of her body. I can feel the tremble that rocks through her, can feel her thighs clench in response. More? I ask, panting. If she says no, I might fling her down on the bed and take what I want anyhow. I'm that far gone with need. Lick her until that shy no becomes the yes she secretly wants it to be.
God, yes,
She breathes. Then I'm the one groaning. I drag my tongue over her sweetness again, exploring her with my tongue and lips, lapping up every bit of her arousal. Each stroke of my tongue over her folds makes her move a little, her hips shifting, and I know she's trying to subconsciously steer me toward her clit, where she gets the greatest amount of pleasure. I'm gonna get there, though. I'm just gonna take a little more time doing so. I want her beside herself with need by the time I finally touch it. So I continue to kiss and explore her folds, dipping my tongue into the well of her core just once. I map her out with my lips, learning her body and steaming the insides of her thighs with my hot breath. All the while, she quietly wriggles atop of me, a mixture of impatience and desire. I stroke my fingers up and down the backs of her thighs, adding to my teasing. I'm giving her all kinds of touches, but not the ones that will bring her off, and she knows it. Her movements become more impatient.
Clay,
She pants.
damn it, you're not playing fair.
What's fair? I ask between long, slow licks of her folds. Not the juicy bits hiding in 'em, just the outside. Just enough to make her crazy with unsatisfied lust.
Not this.
Then how should I touch you?
Deep,
She begs me.
so deep.
I can't refuse. Not when she begs so beautifully. I push my face deeper into her folds, seeking out her clit with my tongue. I find the small bump and begin to circle it, just how she likes, and her little noises of delight grow louder by the moment. When I suck lightly on it, her hips buck against my face and she makes a choking sound. Not so noisy, I chastise her and slip a finger between her thighs, seeking out her core. Or I can't give you more. Her moan is almost inaudible, and she pushes the pillow against her face once more, seeking to stifle her sounds. I love it, though. I love how wild she gets when I touch her. How my reserved, lovely Natalie turns into a fierce, needy creature between the sheets. I suck on her clit again and push a finger into her core. She inhales so deeply it almost sounds like a bull snorting, and I chuckle before licking her again.
Not funny.
She grits out in a low whisper.
You're a torturer.
Am I? I'll just have to torture her harder then. I push a second finger into her heat, and her cunt immediately clasps tight around them, and I can feel her thighs quiver. She wants more. I thrust into her even as I return to licking her clit, and she immediately moans. Her cunt tightens around my fingers again, and I know she's close. I curl one of my fingers forward, seeking the little rough patch that I've read online should be there. Nat nearly comes off the bed. This time, her moan isn't muffled by a pillow, and it echoes through the quiet room, over loud. And fuck, I love it. My dick jerks in my pants, and I have to force myself to remain in control. You gotta quiet down, baby, I whisper. Don't want anyone to come in and see me with my face buried in this sweet pussy. Nat gives another choked moan, and then she's coming, her cunt tightening reflexively around my fingers over and over again. I don't want to stop, though. I want her to keep coming. I want her to come so hard that she tears up the bed, so I keep thrusting into her, my finger curved to find that G-spot on her walls, and I keep sucking and working her clit.
Clay,
She whines, panting.
I can't. I need. Oh, oh.
She comes again, a scream muffled into her pillow. This time when she comes, I feel a surge of wetness from between her thighs, and my tongue is coated with it. I feel an incredible sense of accomplishment. I think I just made my girl squirt. Hot damn if that doesn't make a man feel like a fucking king. Her movements slow over me, and the constant quivering of her hips turns slow and languid as her orgasms begin to ebb. She tries to crawl off of me, to get away from my insistent mouth, but I lock an arm around her thigh and hold her in place, continuing to fuck her with both tongue and fingers. When she comes again, I have mercy on her and let her flop onto her back next to me. Cool air rushes over my face, and I wipe the taste of her from my lips and beard, satisfied that she's been well pleasured, but aching for my own release. I glance over, and her face is flushed bright red, her eyes glazed, her hair a disheveled mess. Her mouth is swollen, and the pillow next to her is wet in one corner from where she's been biting down. She looks so completely pleasured and fucked good, and my cock hasn't even been inside her yet.
I love you, she says weakly. If I didn't love you before, God, I'd sure love you after that.
I can't help but grin, and I get to my feet, undoing the buckle on my belt before sliding it to the floor. I want to feel her skin against mine. Want to touch her and feel her body clasp around mine. Want me to go another round between those pretty thighs? I ask, using one hand to strip my jeans off and the other to smooth up her leg. Can't help touching her. It's like an addiction. Her hands slide down her skirts to her pussy and she cups it, shielding it from my touch.
Think I'd rather have you inside me, she says softly. I feel so hollow right now, and I need to be filled up.
I groan at the sound of that. I strip off the rest of my clothes faster than I ever thought I could get undressed, and then I'm back on her girly bed, between her thighs. Her skirts are hiked up at her hips, her legs splayed wide, and I grab one knee and lead her leg to my hip. She immediately hooks it around me, pulling me down to her.
Clay,
she breathes.
My sweet Clay.
I cover her body with mine and lean in to kiss her, light and gentle. Her lips are soft and taste so good, and what should have been one quick kiss turns into long minutes of nothing more than kissing, over and over again, my mouth caressing hers. Feels good to know I have all the time in the world to claim you. Her smile is shy.
Forever if you want.
That'll do for starters. I reach between us and rub the head of my cock up and down her folds, slicking it with her juices. Her arms go round my neck and she shifts her hips, moving against my cock.
You want me to go on the pill now? I want you inside me with no condom. I want to feel all of you.
I'm surprised to hear my own wants and needs echoed by her. Just reinforces the fact that we've always been perfect for each other, and it's only our own stubbornness that's been keeping us apart all this time. I want to be inside you like that, I admit, and then take it one step further. But I don't want you on the pill.
You don't?
I shake my head. I want you to have my baby. I want a family together. Can't have that if you're on the pill. Maybe it's a crazy thought, but the thought of filling you up with my cum makes me feel this primal sort of pleasure. Her lips part.
It does?
Oh, fuck yeah, it does. The thought of her taking everything I have to give her. More than you can ever know.
And you want a baby?
Her eyes shimmer with a hint of tears.
With me?
I chuckle. Well, I don't want one with anyone else. She slaps my shoulder at my poor joke, but her smile is huge.
A family is a big step.
I'm ready. I've waited 7 years for you, Natalie Weston. I'm ready to start our lives together.
Me too,
She says softly.
Oh, Clay.
I drag my cock head up and down her wetness again. And it ain't just a ploy to get inside your bareback. She giggles, but her laughter turns into a gasp when I sink inside her. And fuck, that feels like the most amazing thing ever, being in her without a barrier. She's hotter and wetter than I ever imagined. I feel every tremor that moves through her body. I want you to come again for me, Nat, while I'm inside you like this. She moans. Her hips rise, and she gives me a little nod. I take her hand and press it back on the mattress. I'm covering her, and I can look her in the eye like this. Maybe at some point we'll try a bunch of different positions, but there's nothing I love more than gazing down at Nat while I fuck her. I start with hard, sure strokes, and without the condom on, my dick feels 10 times more sensitive. I can feel everything. Everything. This time, I'm the one groaning and struggling for control as I push into her.
Pillow under my hips,
Nat pants and grabs at a pillow above her head, then pushes it toward me. I grunt and lift our joined bodies up. She knows hers better than I do, and she knows what she needs. I stuff it under her plush bottom and then thrust into her again. Better. Her moan and the way she digs her nails into my shoulders tells me everything I need to know. I rock into her, harder and faster, the friction between us making the pleasure intensify. When Nat's cunt starts to tighten around me again, I have to pause and regain my control.
No,
She pants, squeezing her hand into a fist against my shoulder.
Keep going. I'm so close.
And I'm far too close. But her urgency fuels mine, and I thrust into her, leaning in to capture her mouth with mine. Just a few more strokes, I tell myself. Hold out for a few more so she can come, and then she cries out underneath me, and I swallow her cry with my kiss. Her cunt tightens round my cock, and it's like she's squeezing it with her fist. It's so tight. And then I'm coming too. My control is gone, and I surge into her, filling her with my seed and giving her everything I've got. Heart, body, and soul. I've never come so hard. Minutes pass, and my breathing begins to slowly return to normal. I'm vaguely aware of my naked, sweaty body atop her, and she's still wearing her pretty dress that we've now thoroughly wrecked. Her virginal bed's pretty trash, too. I press a kiss to her damp brow before sliding to one side so I don't crush her. I love you, Nat.
Love you too,
She murmurs sleepily. I hold her against me, tucking her against me, my cock still buried inside her. We're both sticky from the release, but I don't feel like moving. I just want to lie here with her forever. Well, except that there's a big wet spot in the bed. You might want to wash these sheets.
Probably burn 'em.
She says with a yawn.
Hide the evidence.
Why hide? I ask, wrapping a possessive arm round her and resting it on one big, bouncy tit. Your dad's eventually going to have to find out we're together.
Good point. I didn't think about that.
She peers over her shoulder at me, all soft and sated.
So what happens now between us?
I think for a minute. A new contract. Her brows go down.
Another contract?
I nod and rest my chin on her shoulder, tucking my face next to hers. A marriage one.
Oh,
Her voice goes soft.
okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Are you sure?
Never been more sure of anything in my life. It's true, too.
Epilog. 4 months later. Natalie. My phone buzzes with a text message, waking me from a nap. I rub my eyes and scramble for my phone, only to knock it off the couch and on the floor. Shoot. That's what I get for falling asleep in the living room. I haul myself off the sofa and pad across the newly laid tile, yawning as I scoop it up. I immediately feel queasy as I bend over and retreat back to the couch. Ugh. Morning sickness could go away any day now. I lie back down and close my eyes, sweating and swallowing hard, waiting for the sensation to pass. Eventually it does, and I squeeze one eye open to peer at my phone. Ivy. The mailman delivered to the wrong house again. I just got a big box with skulls on it that's addressed to Lexi. I'd get in the car and bring it over, but Seth finally just went down for his nap. I text her back, not quite ready to get up off my sofa myself. Nat. I'm still flattened by the barfs, so let's text Lexi and let her know it went to your house, Kay? Ivy. Thanks. I'll leave it on the front porch if she's coming by soon. Tell her not to ring the doorbell because baby's sleeping. Smiley face. Will do. I'm sorry your stomach's so bad. Ginger tea did wonders for me. I'll send Clay out to get some later. Thank you. I sigh at my phone and rub my still flat stomach. I've been pregnant for all of 2 months so far, I think, and I'm already pretty done with it. Ivy was a glowing beauty all through her pregnancy, I've been told by multiple sources. Me? I've already got swollen ankles, bad skin, and I've thrown up enough to lose 5 pounds, which makes no sense, because I've gained 10. I can tell I'm going to be one of those people that suffers all through pregnancy. Fun times. I text Clay first because, well, I always text Clay first. I'm just as ridiculously silly in love with the man now as I am the day he walked back into my life. We're joined at the hip, morning, noon, and night. I wake up in his arms, and we snuggle for a few minutes before Clay gets up and heads out for work. Usually we have lunch together, and I've accompanied him out to the rig sites when he has to make a visit. I've watched him and Boone douse for wells, though he says he doesn't have the magic touch that Boone does. And when he comes home, we normally end up on the couch, either watching TV, playing video games. I'm trying desperately to get good at the football games he loves, or making love. You'd think we'd get sick of being around each other all the time, but if anything, it's the opposite. I crave him even more with every passing day. I've never been so damn happy, or so damn lonely when he's gone. Right now, he's overseeing the production of the first round of intelligent camo prototypes. He's made plans with a local base to discuss the possibility of it helping the troops, and he's talked about donating all of them instead of charging for them. Seth's death changed more than a few things in the Price brothers. I know that before, Clay was interested in selling the intelligent camo to the families of troops, but now he's talking about setting up a foundation and donating thousands of suits of it. He says if it can save a few lives, he's willing to shell out the money. I think that's sweet. My man has an altruistic side. I love that. He should be home at a regular time tonight, though, so I send him a little love note. Nat. Heart, heart. Hey, baby, can you pick up some ginger tea on the way home tonight? Clay. Hey, love. Your stomach bothering you? Yeah. Ivy says ginger tea is good for the sickness. I'm on it. Love you. Love you too, babe. I smile as I switch to Lexi's number and send her a text. Natalie. You awake? There's no response from Lexi's phone. Figures. It's still fairly early in the morning, though Lexi is normally an early riser. She likes to joke that she's been up all night summoning hordes of evil minions, but it's all a front. Lexi is one of those people that likes to wake up early and face the day. I'll just have to go over and see what the deal is. It takes me a few minutes to get the courage to roll off the couch. I eventually get to my feet and test things, but my stomach seems to have settled for the moment. Good. I pad across the floor of our new house, kicking aside plastic sheeting as I walk. Clay wanted to build a new house for me and said he wanted me to make it my dream house. We got quotes on houses, though, and to build what we wanted was going to take at least a year and a hell of a lot of money. And while the money isn't the problem, I got pregnant and came to the realization that I didn't want my baby to be born in Clay's trailer or while I was living at a hotel. Living at the Weston Ranch was completely out of the question, too. So we bought a house. Specifically, we bought a house down the street from Ivy and Boone. Well, it's not exactly down the street because they have a massive ranch, and now we have a slightly less massive ranch, but we're on the same block. Our house is old and outdated, with popcorn ceilings and wood paneling everywhere. So while I'm between jobs and pregnant, I've decided to renovate. And by renovate, I mean I tear rooms up and then call people in to fix up my messes. I'm not much of a painter, alas, but a real one's coming tomorrow. I head to the master bedroom, slide on my shoes, and then grab the keys and head out of the house, down the walkway, and toward Lexi's bungalow. The property we picked came with a cottage joined to the sprawling main house by a little pathway in the backyard, so I offered for Lexi to move in. Her yoga business has been failing and failing hard back in Luca. The town's too small, and Lexi's too weird for it to work. She's now doing home visits and trying to set up a web presence, but she's been rather distracted lately to get much done. I know that feeling. It seems like life seems to hit all at once sometimes. It's been the same for me. Dad had another fall not long after Clay and I got married, and at the suggestion of his nurses, we moved Dad to a home in San Antonio. It's one of the most expensive ones available, and he's got a massive suite all to himself. There's care staff that can look after him night and day. More importantly, there are no stairs for him to fall down. I thought he'd hate it, but to my surprise, he actually loves the home. It seems that there are a lot of fans of his movies, and he's treated like the celebrity he is every time he leaves his room. They even have Chap Weston movie nights on a regular basis, and my dad's the center of attention when they do. He loves that. I visited yesterday, and it's like my dad was constantly holding court, signing autographs, flirting with the ladies, and charming the nurses. I haven't seen him so happy in years. It took a lot of the stress off of me to realize that he needed real company, not just a nursemaid. Dad's not thrilled I'm with Clay. Not at all. But most days he doesn't even remember who Clay is. So I try not to let it bother me. I'm not going to let Dad's misery control my life. Not any longer. At the end of the day, he's just a sad, elderly old man who spent more time unhappy than anyone should, and I'm not going to let that happen to me. Sometimes he'll call and gripe at me for making poor life choices, but most times, Dad lives in his own little world. I don't bring Clay up, and Clay has no interest in seeing Dad. Works for me. Since I married Clay, and we now live closer to San Antonio, the Chap Weston Museum is now run by a few employees, and Clay and I head out there every now and then to check on things. It doesn't make a ton of money, but it's important to my dad, and to me, oddly enough, that it not fail, so on it goes. As long as it's in the black, I don't feel guilty about it. Clay wouldn't care if it was a money pit. He just wants me to be happy. I get to the door of Lexi's little cottage, and I can hear her weird yoga music playing in one of the back rooms. I knock, but there's no answer, so I try peeking into one of the windows. They're all closed, though. I debate texting her again, when my gut decides to revolt and another wave of nausea hits. Uh-oh. I glance back up at the main house, but it's a good walk back up the steps, and I suspect I won't make it in time. So I try Lexi's doorknob. It's unlocked, thank goodness, so I let myself in, racing toward the bathroom down the hall. I make it to the toilet just in time to puke my guts out. There's not much left in my stomach, so I end up just dry heaving against the porcelain bowl for a while, and then grab the nearest towel to wipe my face, whimpering. Dude, you okay? I turn around to see Lexi in a towel, and nothing else, standing in the doorway behind me. Her dark hair is disheveled, and she looks sweaty. Sorry, I say weakly. I wasn't trying to let myself in, but my stomach kinda had ideas of its own. Should I call 911? Her voice is deadpan, but she moves to the edge of the tub and offers me a fresh towel. Very funny, I say, shaking my head. I'll be okay. I just need a moment. Did I catch you before you were about to get in the shower? That would be kind of difficult, seeing as I'm sitting on the edge of the shower, Lexi says, amused. You did catch me at a bad time, though. You have a package, I begin, and then stop, because when I lift my head, I can see right into Lexi's bedroom. There's a naked ass in her bed, a very white naked ass, and the owner of it is face down in the covers. For a moment, my heart stops. But then the man sits up, and I see that it's Knox. Ew, I just saw my brother-in-law's naked ass in my best friend's bed. I shoot Lexi a look of horror. What? It's not what it looks like, she begins, and then tilts her head. Actually, no. It's exactly what it looks like. I'm back home a very short time later, still a little unnerved at finding out that Lexi and Knox are sleeping together. I collapse on the sofa in the living room, or what will eventually be the living room, and close my eyes, trying not to get another visual of my weird friend and my weird brother-in-law having sex. No sooner do I lie down than the front door opens. Babe, Clay bellows. In the living room, I call out, struggling to sit up. He appears a moment later, a gorgeous view for any woman. I drink up the sight of him. His now thick beard, his slightly too long dark hair, his laughing green eyes, his broad shoulders, and amazing top body. I sigh. In addition to a raging case of sour stomach, I also have an incredible libido, which is a terrible pairing. I get turned on at the drop of a hat, and then my gut shuts that idea down promptly. It's kinda hellish. Don't get up, baby, Clay says, coming to kneel by the couch. He brushes a lock of hair off my forehead tenderly. You okay? Same as usual, I tell him. Thrown up twice so far today, but the good news is that there isn't much left in my stomach. I grimace. And you'll never guess what I saw today. Save it, he says, and rubs his knuckles lightly over my cheek. You lie down and I'm gonna make you some tea. Why are you home so early? I ask. He shrugs those big, delicious shoulders, and just that simple movement gets me hot and bothered. My baby needed ginger tea, so I came. Yes, but I could have waited. He shakes his head at me. My baby needed ginger tea, he states firmly. Now close your eyes. You big, overbearing dweeb, I tell him affectionately, but I do as he says. I always do as Clay says. It's impossible to argue with him, because he never believes he's wrong. It's cute. I wake up a short time later to find Clay sitting on the far end of the couch, and he's got my feet in his lap. He's texting someone quietly on his phone with one hand and rubbing my ankles with the other. I yawn. Did I sleep long? "'Bout an hour," he tells me, and his thumb strokes my foot. "How you feeling?" "I'm okay." "I'm gonna get you that tea now. You stay put." I sit up as Clay leaves the room, watching his tight butt flex in his even tighter jeans. Lord have mercy, but I hope my stomach holds up for a few hours, because I'm feeling really turned on at the moment. My husband returns a moment later, a steaming cup of tea in his hands. He gives it to me and watches me closely as I sip it. He's attentive and possessive normally, but now that I'm pregnant, that's ratcheted up to 11, and Clay's worse than a mama bear, and I have to admit, I eat it up, every single moment of it. "Better?" Clay asks. The tea tastes terrible, but I don't want him to worry. He already worries about me too much, and we're only in month 2. I smile and tell a tiny fib. Much. He sits back down at the far end of the couch and puts my feet back in his lap. I resist the urge to rub his cock with my feet. My goodness, I'm feeling frisky. It's got to be my big, delicious husband doting on me that's got me so revved up. "I can't believe you're home so early." He shrugs, a smile on his lips. "Missed you and my baby." And that does it. This man is going to get laid. Right here, right now. I carefully set my mug of tea down on the table next to the couch, and then fling myself into Clay's embrace. His eyes widen when my arms go around his neck. "Babe?" "I'm feeling a little..." I trail a finger down the front of his shirt. "Amorous." His eyes go smoky at the thought. "And your stomach?" "Don't care about my stomach," I tell him in my best, most sultry voice. "At least, not right now. Other parts of me are aching." "Allow me to help then, Mrs. Price." He pulls me into his lap, dragging my skirt up. I run my fingers through his gorgeous full beard and shift my hips, rubbing against his cock. I love days like today. Actually, I love every day now that I'm with Clay. Everything seems bright and full of promise now that we're together. And as he grabs the crotch of my panties and pulls them aside in a move that makes me breathless, it makes me think there's no way I could be happier. Clay's my life, and I was just going through the motions without him. I lean in and brush my mouth against his, lost in his touch. There'll be plenty of time later to tell him about his brother and Lexi. For now, I've got other thoughts on my mind. Things like seducing my husband. This concludes Dirty Scoundrel by Jessica Clare, narrated by Rudy Sanda and Chandra Sky. Copyright 2017 by Jessica Clare. This unabridged audiobook is recorded by arrangement with Intermix Books, an imprint of Penguin Publishing Group, a division of Penguin Random House LLC, and was produced in the year 2017 by Tantor Media Incorporated, a division of Recorded Books, which holds the copyright thereto. Please visit tantor.com for more information on our growing library of unabridged audiobooks and to take advantage of special offers.